Microphone check one, two. Microphone check one, two. This is Shakara doing, a bit of an impromptu live, you know what I mean? Because it's the birthday of the most honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. It's been spending all day, you know what I'm saying? I was at a ceremony earlier as hosted by my organization, the Al Qaeda Revivalist Movement, celebrating the life and legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey on this day. And we know that this day is a day of, outer, outer national observance and celebration. I saw the Rasses in St. Lucia on a live video. We got Priest Kailash and the Rasses them in St. Lucia, who, were in ceremony today. Also, I understand that the brothers and sisters in Jamaica, Liberty Hall, um, were also, in celebration. I saw some footage of my president, Baba Senghor Jawara Baye, speaking at a gathering in Washington, D.C., I believe it is. You know what I'm saying? So, around them time, yeah. Yeah. In fact, tomorrow as well in Jamaica, RAFM have, a Marcus Garvey celebration going on also. So we just give thanks, you know what I'm saying, because it's a great man and a great legacy. And, you know, there are many that may be wondering, you know what I'm saying, why, this is such a cause for celebration, you know what I mean? So maybe we'll discuss that in a piece. But really, yeah, this is just me, taking part um, in basically the celebrations and making it, live on YouTube conversation and that kind of thing. So if anybody wants to join the conversation later on, you know what I'm saying, maybe we'll allow that to take place, you know, and these things. So yeah, if you are locked on right about now, let me make sure that I can be heard clearly. Give me a 9 in the chat, or give me some of that red, black, green hearts or circles or whatever it is. I just want to make sure that everyone can hear, man. I'm saying very, very correctly. And these things. So do let me know if you can hear me correctly. But yeah, we're just having a little bit of an impromptu live due to the fact that it is Marcus Mosiah Garvey's birthday today. And so we just give thanks for life, and we just give him thanks for life. And maybe what I'm gonna do is just share, the inspiration. Yeah, why man celebrates this man so much. You know what I'm saying? I've had certain debates about that. You know what I mean? People tell you, say, yeah, I be worshiping you, and these kind of things. When you celebrate a man like Marcus Mosiah Garvey, um, and in a sense, yeah, that to say that we're celebrating the man is kind of is a bit of a belittling of the thing, because we're not just celebrating the man. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of works that the man did, but also there's an illustrious legacy behind the works. And so the day really is just symbolic of all of the people that contributed to seeing um, the vision of the UNIA-ACO, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and African Communities League, come to, fruition, come to light. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so, yeah, we're just giving thanks in it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, if I might share, if anybody wants to jump on, I'll share the link out later on. Anybody got a question or want to make a comment in relation to the life and legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the UNIA-ACO, you know what I mean? I'd be most willing to engage with anybody during them, within the realms of them, that vibes there. And any other, subject that don't take us too far off of the thing, you know what I'm saying? Cause, right now we want to celebrate the life of the king, the prophet, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, you know what I mean? So yeah, and that we're the plan right now, you know what I'm saying? Enough things are going on in the world, and we might just want to know, how the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey relates to solving some of the problems that we are facing right about now in today's world. So as I was saying earlier today, um, I was with my organization, my family, the Al Qaeda Revivalist Movement, and every day on this day, we're in ceremony. We pour a special libation for Marcus Mosiah Garvey, his parents, his family, understanding that one of his uncles, um, was involved in the Morant Bay Rebellion. uh, that was led by Paul Bogle in the parish of St. Anne's in Jamaica. Yeah, I am yet to get any nines or red, black, green in the chat, so I'm not even sure if anybody can hear me right about now. So, if anybody can hear me, yeah, I'd be most grateful if you could just let me know in any way, shape, or form by typing something in the chat. Yeah, what I'm saying. Usually we ask for nines or red, black, green in the chat, kings and queens, and so yeah, but that's why I make sure I can be heard. You know what I mean? So the people them can hear what me I say. So yeah, I'd be most grateful if any of the four people locked in right about now could just give me a sign. Show me a sign. You know what I mean? Show me a sign. Let me know that you can hear, man. Yeah, but I'm gonna continue same way. The five people, we have one more person unlucky right now. Still, is he? So yeah, let me know you can hear me. And based upon the fact that nobody is typing anything, I'm going to assume that I cannot be heard. 1 second, let me just double check something right now. Okay, so my stream is coming through. All right, so I'm just making sure, yeah, that's something I got still. So we give thanks, yeah, we give thanks. Something I coming through. Yes, family. So yeah, it's Marcus Garvey's birthday. I'm really celebrating things. So earlier, we have pour a special libation, and then we have reflections. You know what I'm saying? On the works of Marcus Garvey. You know, the words of Marcus Garvey. People share the words of Marcus Garvey and reflect upon them. And all these things take place here. And we shouldn't really have to explain why. I'm saying we are honor the man because there's no people that are proud of themselves. No people, yeah, that are truly proud of themselves that don't honor the people that have made like an outstanding contribution to their history. Yeah, it just doesn't happen any other way. You know what I'm saying? Except for where African people are concerned, and so we're honoring the man because of the works, and basically not just because of the works, because the works are still incomplete, and so it's like we have a duty to continue and to contribute, yeah, to the works because the man has done so much, yeah, for us as a people worldwide. We're vowing. It's like we're rededicating ourselves to give back, to reciprocate the efforts. You know what I'm saying? Um, of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and develop on them, build upon the foundation that he left, and do greater, yeah, than what he did. And so that's what it's all about, kings and queens. So that's what we did today. Man, woman, and child was in the building, and in African style we chant and we drum, and we reflect. You know what I'm saying? And rededicate ourselves to these work. Big up my brother Galen Amosu, locked in, locked on right about now. Love my brother. Yeah, Phil, I forgot to do the like up the video and share the link. Yeah, so hit the like button and share the link with anybody who may want to join, man. Live and these things. You know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, hit man up still. 1 second. Oh, Skeen, I was about to say, I thought there was another live where people were debating the legacy of Marcus Garvey. I was about to lock off and run into that live there, you know what I mean? And defend the legacy differently. I know someone have to defend the legacy. So yes, kings and queens. Any thoughts, comments, you know, questions that anybody has on the life and legacy of Malcolm X Garvey? This is why I love the man, yeah, and honor the man because Marcus Garvey was a visionary, a supreme visionary. He looked around at the condition of African people at a certain particular moment in time, and he saw big things, and he asked himself, where is the black man and woman's government and their army, their navy, their men and women of big affairs? And he said, I looked around and I saw none, and then I said, I will help to create them. And no individual, no organization has gotten, succeeded more, yeah, in forwarding that agenda. He wasn't just a visionary. He was a master organizer. Whenever, I think my dad was saying earlier today, he was saying that, you know, the one of the things that he does about Marcus Garvey, he had some beautiful words, but behind everything that he said, there was a plan, yeah, and most monumentally, this is the year in which we are celebrating um, the 100th anniversary since the founding of the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, yeah, which was founded in 1919 in the month of September, yeah, and this initiative was designed for the specific purpose of facilitating trade and commerce around the black world. And they put three ships on the seas. They succeeded in putting three ships on the seas, yeah, that traveled around the Americas, take distributing produce, yeah, fruit and veg, and some liquor as well, you know, because prohibition was on the way, um, yeah, around among Africans throughout the Americas, yeah, and that is a massive, massive, massive achievement. You know what I'm saying? So, like, when you look at that, yeah, and we look at what our aspirations are now, these people are looking to create and build nations and infrastructure, yeah. And so because of they set the bar so high, they were able to achieve, yeah, so much as a result of where they set the bar and their dedication to actually reaching um, that particular goal right there. So man, this man here is not no joke businessman, and the organization that he built, which is still alive today, still alive and well, going well today, is not no joke business organization. And so studying it, studying him, studying the UNIA ACL is what allows us to learn the lessons, yeah, the necessary lessons um, from the organizations, good, bad, and indifferent. None of us are perfect. We all make mistakes in it. But it's about learning from those mistakes. You know what I'm saying? But most importantly, it's about understanding what the successes were. Because enough times we want to get into the mistakes, you know, before we even appreciate what the people them did. You understand what I'm saying? We have to appreciate what the people them did. When an organization can grow to the tune of approximately 11 million members worldwide. Yeah, understanding that approximately 400 million black men, women, and children were alive on the planet at that time. Yeah, um, we must be able to appreciate the monumental impact of what they were dealing with, the organizational capacity, yeah, that they manifested to be able to succeed, in what they were trying to do. The UNIA ACL grew to a point whereby in Harlem, New York, they employed over 1,000 black men and women in that borough, yeah, of New York alone. So this is the equivalent now of employing 1,000 black men and women in one organization, employing 1,000 black men and women in one borough in London, let's say Brixton or Peckham or Hackney or Leighton or Neasden or Harsden. You know what I'm saying? It's a mad situation, kings and queens. Yeah, and so um, yeah, man just wants to really celebrate um, Marcus Garvey with the idea. You know what I'm saying? Big up Gallant is the only one. It's strange, you know. It's strange for me to jump on the live here and only one person's commented in the chat. It's mad. But I love it same way. People are just listening. So we give thanks for all your listening ears. Do once again feel free to hit the like button. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. We're celebrating the life of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I want to say big up Burning Spear. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody has written more songs about Marcus Garvey than Burning Spear. But big up all the artists there. Big up all the reggae artists, the hip hop artists that have celebrated Marcus Garvey because in their music. Because that has certainly, um, you know, uh, enough people were introduced, yeah, to the works of Marcus Garvey through the music that they listened to. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, man, like, fam, I don't know if people understand the monumental nature of what this man was dealing with, yeah. So, 11 million members worldwide. They start a thing called the Negro Factories Corporation, yeah, and they employ over 1,000 black men and women in Harlem alone. They're making black dolls for black children. They're developing, producing clothes, garments, hats, yeah, suits for men to wear, dresses for women to wear, and children to wear. Yeah, they develop a trucking company. They own farms, they own land where they're growing their own food, and they own a trafficking company to distribute and deliver goods and services. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, among African people. Yeah, and all of this is funded by the people in the organization. They buy shares in the corporation, so they own the corporation itself collectively. You know what I'm saying? This is the levels that they were dealing with. Yeah. Um, what else? They had restaurants. Yeah. They owned laundrettes, all under the Negro Factories Corporation. Yeah. Um, you know what I'm saying? And so this is the inspiration. We're talking about unemployment among black men in particular in London and across the UK in this day and age. And the fundamental aspect of why that high unemployment rate exists is because we don't own enough businesses to employ ourselves. Yeah. And when I say own enough businesses, I don't just mean that we own that we have black people that own businesses. What I actually mean is that those black people are connected to a network of black businesses that are dedicated towards the betterment of their community. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is that what we see in Marcus Mosiah Garvey is not just an example of entrepreneurship. What we see it with Marcus Garvey is an example of an economic system and economy in development. An actual. So this is not just a group like just a entrepreneurship scheme. Let's get more black people in business, owning businesses and owning shops and them kind of things. And no, it's more than that. It goes into let's link these black businesses up, yeah, with a community through which we can develop an economy, yeah, an economic system, yeah, and we're going to be going more into that. I'm going to share the link in the chat right about now, yeah, for the pilot for Got Kush TV group Black Group Economics show. Very, very important, yeah, that brothers and sisters, kings and queens, check out the pilot premiere for the Got Kush TV Black Group Economics show. What we're doing is we're sharing the pilot with you because the pilot was recorded some years ago. And so we're developed with the actual full season is going to be in production shortly. Yeah, we're in pre-production at the moment. We're going to be in production very shortly, and getting a full season of that show to you. We want to share with you the idea. Make sure that brothers and sisters know Wagwan, you know what I'm saying, and these things. In fact, I'm gonna get Got Kush TV to share that link in the chat right about now. Yeah. But yes, family, the group economic show, because we have to understand and understand what economics is. Because economics is about more than just business. Yeah. And I'm saying that the UNIA ACL under the leadership of Marcus Mosiah Garvey was showing us and teaching us about, I'm saying, the importance of not just getting black people in business, yeah, not just getting black people owning um, stuff and you know what I mean, um, you know, doing deals, yeah, with big white corporations, but having relationships with each other. And so, in terms of building upon that, it's all about us developing not just entrepreneurs, but economies, relationships between those entrepreneurs, relationships between those entrepreneurs and other institutions, educational institutions, health institutions, and otherwise in our community. Big up Vale Vision, Yaga Wavers, big up everyone in the chat. Give thanks. There's no one else on the panel right about now, but anybody who wants to come on the panel later on can do that. I'm just celebrating the life of my prophet, in it, Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So we're gonna have some conversations, you know what I'm saying, a little bit later on. Yeah, if anyone wants to join the chat, let me know in it, and I'll send out the link. If not, I'll just keep talking. Big up Indigenous Indigo, blessings, blessings, blessings. Big up yourself, sis. And yeah, got Kush. Big up DJ Rizza from Content Over Everything. Got Kush TV has shared the link for the trailer for the Black Group Economic Show pilot. So check that out, Kings and Queens. Yeah, and if you are not subscribed to Got Kush TV, make sure you do that right about now. You You know what I'm saying? Make sure you do that right about now. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah. So building an economy and everything there. Yeah. And then the other thing is that in 1918, yeah, 101 years ago, the UNIA started a newspaper, yeah, called the Negro World Newspaper. Now, I happened to share this with some brothers um, a few months ago when we were having a Garvey debate. They're my brothers, I love them still. You know what I'm saying? But I happened to share, they were asking for a blueprint, yeah, and where was what was Marcus Garvey's blueprint. So as an example, I gave them this example of the Negro World newspaper, yeah, and the brothers, were very disparaging and mocking. They didn't seem to appreciate the value of what the newspaper had achieved at the time, and the function of that newspaper in the blueprint of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the UNIA ACL, the Universal Negro Improvement Association, and African Communities League. Big up J. Dor Spirit. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, family, do like up the video, you know what I'm saying, and share it, yeah, because we're going to have a conversation about Marcus Garvey, and I'm going to share the link soon and let ones and ones on if they want to come and reason with on this legacy and its relevance for today, how we would apply it, whether it's even still relevant. Did Marcus Garvey fail? That's another one of them often asked questions. And some people don't even ask the question, they make the statement, Marcus Garvey failed. Yeah, we can deal with all of that. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just going through some of the reasons why I'm so inspired by the life of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. So they start this newspaper called the Negro World, yeah, and they publish sections of the newspaper in three different languages, which is English, French, and Spanish. And these are the three major colonial languages. So most Africans on the planet, because we were colonized by one of these three nations, predominantly, you know, speak one of these languages. Yeah. So in the Americas, English, Spanish are the most widely spoken languages. Then you get Portuguese, yeah, place like Brazil, yeah. On the African continent and throughout Europe, English and French are the most widely spoken languages. There's only one Spanish-speaking nation on the continent at the moment, and there's a couple Portuguese-speaking nations. But the point is that the whole point of the Negro World newspaper was to develop the consciousness and the awareness and self-awareness of African people around the world. Yeah. By the way, Kings and Queens, I got a new mic set up. Yeah. So let me know if I'm coming through clearly. I want to know how I sound. Does the quality of my mic sound good? Let me know, yeah, if the quality of the mic sounds good in it. Because there's a new mic set up right about now. So I also want to make sure that, the quality is coming through crisp, at an appropriate volume, and all these things. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you get me. Yeah, do let me know. Let me know what I go on. How the mic sound, it sound crisp and, like Barry White and all them something there. Or does it sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks? Or is it too quiet? Do let me know in it. You know what I'm saying? I'd love to know. Keep me in tune. Give me some quality control and all these things. Yeah. So they start this newspaper and they start publishing it in three different languages. Yeah. And there's a circulation of hundreds of thousands a week. It's a weekly newspaper. And not only is it a weekly newspaper, but it's a worldwide, yeah, weekly newspaper. And by that, what I mean is the newspaper, yeah, is going around the world. Yeah, literally around the world. So they're publishing in the States and it's going throughout South and Central America. It's going around the United States of America first and foremost. It's being transmitted and transported throughout the Caribbean, throughout South and Central America. Yeah, it's going. It's going. All right, Am I sounding louder now? I want to make sure that I'm sounding good, for the people them, so the people them can hear what me I say. Yeah, am I sounding louder now? Yeah, right. It's going throughout South and Central America. It's going throughout Europe. Yeah, it's licking the shores of the UK. Yeah, it's licking the shores of the UK. It's licking France and Spain. Yeah, it's even reaching Australia. Yeah, and finally, and in some ways, most importantly, it is arriving on the African continent. Yeah, it's arriving on the African continent, and so much so that in places, yeah, especially in the English speaking, um, well, should I say, the parts of the African continent that were colonized by the British, yeah, they were so fearful of this man Marcus Garvey, this organization, the UNAACL, and its media, its primary media, the Negro World newspaper, that they banned it, yeah, in many of the French speaking and English speaking nations, yeah, or should I say the nations that were created by these Europeans on the continent and that were colonized by the French and the British. And so people could be imprisoned, yeah, for being found with a copy of the Negro World newspaper. And I'm talking about given life imprisonment as well. Yeah, there's one case in Zimbabwe where a man was in prison and sentenced to life, yeah, for being found with a copy of the Negro World newspaper. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's how fearful these men were, yeah, of the Negro World newspaper and Marcus Mosiah Garvey. But what happened was, even though it was banned, the newspaper was banned, the UNIA, because one of its visions was the development of the Black Star Line Steamship Corporation, they were very interested in getting seamen, yeah, as a part of the organization. And because of so-called World War One, yeah, where the Europeans went to war and said that the world was at war. Basically, what happened was they there were a number of black men who were qualified in terms of working ships, yeah, or working on ships, even if they weren't captains. But what happened is that they had agents. The UNIAACO had agents, yeah, who that were seamen, who were responsible for carrying the Negro World newspaper on journeys, yeah, throughout the world and passing it off to agents in different countries, yeah. And in different countries, what would happen is whoever could speak where any one of the languages within that the Negro was written in, yeah, would read it to people. Yeah, people would gather to read the Negro World or have the Negro World read to them, and in some places like Congo and many places in like Southern Africa, and Kenya, I believe, yeah, like people would gather to read the Negro World, and then there would be other emissaries who, having heard the message, would go and retell it. Yeah, they would kind of memorize it and retell it to other brothers and sisters, yeah, in the vicinity of where they were living. Yeah, and this is one of the ways in which the message of the Negro World newspaper or the UNIA ACL spread. Yeah, that level of communication, that sophistication of communication was happening at that time. The people then weren't joking, kings and queens. Yeah, they weren't joking. You know what I'm saying? And so, but that's one of the reasons why the the organization was able to amass a membership of approximately 11 million, yeah, which is madness, yeah, for, what I'm saying, between in the 1920s, basically, right? Craziness, yeah. But their media arm was on point, yeah. And then when they bought the first ship for the UNA for the Black Star Line, they had their own media that was able to advertise that, and the membership shot up through the roof when they heard that this black organization was putting ships on the seas. And a steamship was the number one means of international travel at that particular moment in time. And in fact, still to this day, yeah, most trade, that mass trade, is not done by plane. It's actually done by ship. Yeah, shipping is still the number one way to transport goods. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, around the planet at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So this man was ahead of his time. In fact, um, they actually even they were actually even starting to get into planes. Yeah, they had they had developed a regiment called the Black Eagle something or another. Yeah, the Black Eagle something or another, but it had to do with a plane, a fleet of planes that they were looking to purchase and put in the air. So this man was on the cutting edge, yeah, of science and the technological developments of his era. Mad thing, you ain't hear what I'm saying, my G. Yeah, this is a man that was on serious business. Yeah, this is a man that was on serious business. By the way, let me just make sure that I highlight this comment, yeah? Right. This comment right here from no, sorry, it's the wrong comment I'm highlighting. Hold on. What's it called? But yeah, give thanks for that, Gallant. You get me? We're all looking forward to the launch of the Black Group Economics show. Trying to find where's that thing gone? Why can't I see that comment from Got Kush TV? I wanted to highlight it. By the way, look for the comment from Got Kush TV. Yeah. Look for the comment from Got Kush TV in the chat because it contains the link to the Black Group Economics show trailer. Yeah. So it's got all the information about when we're going to be showing it and them kind of things there. So make sure you check out that. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you check out that. All right. So I'm just here talking about Marcus Garvey and why he's an inspiration for man. See, I'm a man here that I like people that nowadays, yeah, we're given like Obama, Jay-Z and Beyonce, yeah, and these kinds of things as, aspirations and goals, yeah, aspirations and goals for us to aspire to. And I'm not saying that there's nothing to learn from these people, but because I was raised on examples like Marcus Mosiah Garvey, even them visions there are small to man. Because them man there was envisioning in nations, yeah, and governments, not just businesses, you know what I'm saying, and deals, you know what I mean, and ownership of this or that company within the system that we're in. Them man there was thinking about beyond the system that we're in at the moment entirely and developing something completely our own, completely new, completely different, completely self-determining. You know what I'm saying? So anything else, like other than that, coming from my consciousness, is a diminishment. Aya, is it? From my consciousness is all I'm saying in it. Yeah, like, and that's not to say it can't be good. Yeah, that's not to say it's not positive, but when your number one inspiration is a man like Marcus Garvey, it takes a lot to impress man, innit? That's all I can say, really. Just what I'm saying. It takes a lot to impress man. Yeah. So not only they do that now, there's a situation in the United States of America, yeah, where we're in Jim Crow, yeah, and mass lynchings of black men in particular, harassment of black women, and is a regular occurrence. Yeah, there's a woman by the name of Ida B. Wells on the scene who's going around the country raising awareness and trying to get black men to develop protection for themselves. Yeah, she went around the country with a gun, looking to develop, protection for our community. You know what I'm saying? And in that environment, the UNIA ACL develops this thing called the Universal African Legion, yeah, which is designed to provide protection, paramilitary units, yeah, of the organization designed to provide protection for the African man, woman, and child. Yeah, very, very important auxiliary that was. Let me check out this question from my brother Gallant. Would you say that people like to study the study of Marcus Garvey has inspired the media productions such as Got Kush TV? Do you see do you see children that you teach that has been inspired by Marcus Garvey? Good question. Yeah, so Got Kush TV is definitely inspired by Marcus Garvey in a whole heap of different ways. Yeah, one of the reasons why Black Group Economics is such a mainstay in terms of the feature of our programming at Got Kush TV. Yeah. So bearing in mind, when I came into Got Kush TV, group economics was already on the agenda. Yeah. So I've been working with Got Kush TV more or less since its inception. I was not a director. Yeah. When I first was involved, I am now a co-director. Yeah. But when I first encountered Got Kush TV, group economics was already on the agenda, and so this is why when you saw Got Kush TV covering events like Mosiah Storm and OMX Storm, is because the brothers that I come to, man, were already on that vibe. You understand what I'm saying? That's the first thing. The second thing though is that when we look at, so I've got there's a show called The Insight that we do on Got Kush TV, um, and I am the host for that particular show. The very first episode, yeah, of that show, um, basically was entitled "The Power of Black Media," and so what I was doing in that episode, yeah, was kind of juxtaposing the influence um, that Marcus Garvey had in his time, yeah, um, in his time with the Negro World newspaper, and what lessons we can learn from that in today, yeah. And the whole point is that the printing press was cutting edge technology, was the most advanced form of media production available at that time. Yes, there was radio, but radio was not as widespread. Yeah, radio had been developed by that point, and the UNIA was getting into radio as well. Yeah, bear that in mind. The UNIA was looking to start its own radio station and its own TV network. Yeah, but at that moment in time, the most powerful form of media was the written word in the form of newspapers. Yeah, and so it was incumbent upon the brothers and sisters of the time to master that media, not just to be in it. Yeah, not just to have a newspaper, but to master, yes, that particular media form and media outlet. And so the basic lesson that we learn from that is not that we need a newspaper. Yeah, newspapers are still valuable. Yeah, they're still valid forms of media today. However, having a newspaper in 2019 doesn't mean that we are mastering the media of our time. Yeah. So the lesson that we learn is not just that newspapers are good and they're beautiful and they're wonderful, but that the UNIAACL was trying and managed to a significant degree, stay on the cutting edge of the technological advancements of their era and utilize whatever they had at their disposal, yeah, towards the betterment of African people worldwide. And so Got Kush TV is infinitely inspired by the legacy of Malcolm Isaiah Garvey because the visual image is the primary media of our time. Yeah, the visual image, yeah, the moving image is the primary media of our time in so many different ways. We live in the digital age, yeah, whereby information is the primary currency of the now. Yes, like so the control of ideas, yes, the development of ideas and the distribution of ideas is the key component and arbiter of developing, sustaining, and maintaining power. Yes, in this day and age. Yeah. And one of our major issues as a people is that we don't have enough media outlets that can make enough noise to pierce through the the mass or mess stream media at the moment. Something happens on the African continent, and our primary media outlet is the same as the European who's trying to colonize us. It's BBC and CNN. Yeah? You know what I mean? Our media outlets don't have the reach of these media outlets, even to our own people. Yeah? And so when you're looking at waves, yeah, that transmit information, you know what I'm saying? All this stuff that we're dealing right about now in terms of Wi-Fi and even radio and television, they all rely on waves. Yeah, and when you're dealing with waves, yeah, you're able to tune into a particular channel because it resonates at a particular frequency, and frequency literally is literally the number of waves. Yeah, right. What's it called between in the transmission? Yeah, okay, literally the number of waves. Yeah, and so a higher frequency is more waves in the transmission, lower frequency is less waves. Yeah, and because if we look at it in terms of information, One of the reasons why we think the way we do is because certain particular kinds of ideas, yeah, are more frequently transmitted to our brain. We're interacting with these particular ideas more constantly, so therefore they shape, they inform us more than other ideas that we engage with less frequently. And so one of the goals of our current environment, the society in which we live, is to minimize our exposure to ideas like that of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Minimize our exposure to ideas that pertain to Pan Africanism and African liberation and unity, reparations, the revolution of the African continent and the African people. Yeah? African spirituality, African culture, and the contribution that both these make towards uh, social organization, political organization, economic development. Yeah, minimize, yeah, our exposure to those ideas, and where though we can't minimize the exposure to the ideas, to channel the mind in such a way that it is bombarded with negativism about those ideas, so that when we hear the ideas, we respond negatively towards them. Yeah. So we've got to now. The job that we have to do is to increase the frequency of the output of the ideas that we're dedicated to, that we say we're living by, and maximize the exposure, yeah, of our people to these ideas, right? And I hope everybody understands what I'm trying to say here in answer to my brother Gallant's question on whether God Kush TV is inspired by the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Do you see children that you teach that has been inspired by Marcus Garvey? Definitely. Do you know what I'm saying? Definitely. And there's more work to be done there, to be honest with you. Because sometimes, again, this comes into what I was saying a while ago. Because the youth, them are so bombarded, yeah, with, you know, what's out there in the mainstream, yeah, it can be difficult to like Marcus Garvey seems irrelevant to them, um, and because they've been taught that history is irrelevant to them, yeah, it can seem irrelevant to them because you're looking on, the programs that you watch, the music that you listen to, and a different ideal of success is being transmitted, yeah, um, a different ideal of success, and so what Marcus Garvey is dealing with seems unrealistic. It seems backdated. It seems outdated. It seems irrelevant to the times that we're living in. You know what I'm saying? And you know what's funny? Like, I man grew up in an area, where the same propaganda was projected towards man, but because of how I was taught, I always saw through the attempt to make Marcus Garvey irrelevant, and always saw the relevance in the fact that partly because they don't want me to know this is why I need to know this. And partly in the sense of the fact that if he achieved what he achieved and they achieved what they achieved 100 years ago, yeah, and we don't have that today. Like, we don't have a Black Star Line Steamship Corporation today, yeah. We don't have an African Legionnaires today, yeah. We have some publications, but we don't have any media that is operating on the level that the Negro world was operating at in its time. If we don't have that today, then that goal cannot be outdated or irrelevant. It must still have relevance. Yeah, I had the pleasure of interviewing Bob Andy, a reggae legend. Yeah, right. Recently for Got Crush TV. You can find the first two parts of that interview um, on Got Crush TV. The last part is coming soon. Yeah, but I had the pleasure of interviewing the elder, and one of the things that he said in the interview is that we don't have any industries that exist outside of their industry. Yeah, we are yet to develop industries that exist outside of their industry. Yeah, and that's a problem because you see, when it comes to this thing, yeah, like if our aspirations are always to get a Grammy and to get an Oscar, we're never gonna move beyond Hollywood, yeah, and the American music industry. We're never gonna move beyond that, and that's why Marcus Garvey is important. That is why Marcus Garvey is important, yeah, because that vision right there teaches us to go beyond. what is here right now. Yeah, develop your own thing. And funnily enough, this kind of relates to. I was catching up. I was catching up on. All right, I'm gonna answer Gannet's question first, but people in the chat, yeah. By the way, if anybody wants to come live with man, let me know. I'll share the link. Yeah. If anybody wants to come live with man, let me know, and I'll share the link. You know, I forgot how. Oh, there we go. That's what I got to do. Right. You know, I'm just remembering how to use the StreamYard thing and share the link to invite people on. Right. So anybody wants to come live, man, yeah, let me know, and I will share the link with you if you want to make contributions to what I'm talking about. But remind me, yeah, because today I was catching up on this whole Jay Z, NFL Colin Kaepernick situation, and I found it very interesting. I'm not going to say too much on it. I need to research it more you know, before I dive in and I make, some strong statement and all them something there. Before, what I'm saying, it's best to be informed before you speak. But there are certain things that can be said from the jump. Let me know about. Remind me to come back to that, people in the chat. Yeah. But if anybody wants to come live with me, let me know. Like up the video and share it, family. Like up the video and share it. And if anybody is listening from foreign, i.e., outside of the UK, yeah, outside of the UK, let me know. I want to know if my people outside of the UK, if you're locked in, locked on. Right. Says guy that says Garvey spoke about the importance of Africans being involved in the sciences. How do you feel us as Garveyites see the importance of science in today's society? I think we get it, but we don't get it. I think we get it, but we don't get it. And it's partly because Garveyites have been preoccupied with sustaining and maintaining the legacy of Marcus Garvey. Yeah, in terms of because after he died, there was like a concerted effort, yeah, to kind of just wipe the man's name, yeah, from history. Big up Purple Lotus, Mosiah certainly lives, yeah. Big up for the Orthodox more. I'm in the USA. All right, greetings, my brother or sister. Let me know what part of the USA still. Yeah, I'd love to know what part of the USA. Most of the people that come to my channel from the USA are in Atlanta. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So read that up still. But yeah, I'd like to know what part of the USA. Yeah. Yeah. So what was I saying? Yeah. So because of that, yeah, there's been like we've had to go around and as well because there was an actual direct attack, yeah, against the Garvey movement and everything Garvey, yeah. Like I mean, another day we'll go into the levels of attack, but put it this way, Marcus Garvey built what he built, yeah, against some of the biggest devils and enemies in the world. You had colonial governments around the world that were actively trying to destroy his organization. The American government itself, the British government, the French government, the Spanish government, and the governments in their little colonial protectorates, yeah, such as Jamaica and Cuba, yeah, and these places, yeah, and nations all over the African continent were directly trying to destroy his organization, yeah. The international bodies at the League of Nations, which was the conglomerate of all these things, local organizations like police forces, yeah, and some of these people got in, even the Communist International, yeah, that was founded in Russia, worldwide organization. Orthodox more don't want to blow up where he or she is at, but he says the West Coast. Well, this is I don't know if I've ever had anybody from the West Coast locked in, So give thanks for that. Still, West Coast in the house. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yeah. So the point I'm making is that there was a mass attack against the Garvey movement, yeah, during the time of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and after the time of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And so oftentimes the people that came in that attack were responsible for trying to maintain just the basics of the movement, yeah. And so when you're facing that kind of level of destruction, you maintain and hold on to wherever you can so that a future generation can come after and pick up from wherever you've been able to hold on to, yeah. Um, the UNIA developed um, developed. I'm gonna share the link in the chat. But the Orthodox Moors are asking for the link though. Still, all right, content. We got content over everything. You know what I'm saying? Black media in the house. We got content over everything. You don't know, my brother. Yeah. But yeah, if you're not subscribed to content over everything, I'm just gonna share it in the chat. Yeah. So anybody that wants to join can join. So the Orthodox Moor, come in. Yeah. The link is in the chat right now. Come in. Yeah. Big up Never Again. Um, I'm not aware of that statement. Never again. You're gonna have to lead me to where it is and provide some context for it. I'm not aware of Papa Garvey ever saying that he would never work with the Ugandan people. I do know that there was UNIA activity in Uganda, yeah, and Kenya, and then kind of things there. So I'm not aware of any statement that Marcus Garvey made saying that he'd never work with the Ugandan people. So if you could let me know where you found that, I'll look it up and we'll talk. The Orthodox Moor, are you with me?
Yes, sir. Peace, peace, peace to you, brother. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother. Good, good,
That's
good.
what's up.
All right, stay there, stay there. I'm just gonna finish answering Gannet's question, and I'll come to you. Yeah. All right. So yeah. So in that sense, yeah. Um, because so the UNIA had was at a point whereby it was developing sorry, not nurseries, universities. Yeah, the Booker T. Washington University and the Liberty University. Yeah, and so within that, they would have developed the scientific knowledge, know-how that we needed. Yeah, but because the movement was under such attack, yeah, we wasn't able to develop that in the way that we should have or what needed to. So since then, consciousness raising has been a primary activity, learning African history and political consciousness and ideas, studying in Nkrumah, and these kinds of things, yeah, has been a primary focus because as Amos Wilson says, scientific development and technological discovery take place within a political and economic environment. Yeah, they don't just happen in and of themselves. Yeah, and so in a sense, we've been preoccupied with establishing the social, the political, and the economic philosophy that's going to inform our scientific development. At the same time, it's important that at this particular stage of our development, we learn to do both. Yeah, that we send children to universities with a political, cultural grounding, yeah, that are studying scientific subjects, yeah, and are able to use those subjects and bring them back to their communities and the African world at large. And I think more and more, as our movement matures, we're starting to see the ways and the avenues for doing that. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that answers your question, Galen. Never again, feel free to join. Click the link. Yeah, it's in the chat. Click the link. It's in the chat. Feel free to join. Right. Where was I? Go ahead. Yeah, Orthodox more. Let me bring you in right now. Still,
Yes, sir.
greetings. What's your contribution, bro?
Oh man, I just want to say big up the panel, the chat, the conversation. So I'm a Moorish American Muslim, and so it's a very particular Islamic sect to where we actually recognize Garvey as a prophet and whatnot. And so we're a very unique Islamic sect in that Pan Africanism and Garveyism is part of our canon. Does that make sense? And
Yeah, yeah,
so
but you're not Noble Drew Ali. Are you Noble Drew Ali?
yeah,
Okay.
so in the literature, Marcus Garvey is called the
Yeah, I
forerunner.
realized that, but because you gave a different name to the one I associate with Noble Drew Ali, I was just checking. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
Um, and so one of the things one of my favorite things about studying Garvey is the fact that he told our people. I love how you talk about the economics and all that type of stuff, right? But he also told our people to go back to Africa spiritually. He was like, whatever you're practicing, go back to. He said, I worship the God of Ethiopia, right? So I'm a
Yeah.
Christian. He's like, but I'm going back to Africa with mine. I don't worship the same gods or in the same way that these European Christians do. So we got our own ways of doing things. We all need to go back to Africa with that.
Yeah.
And that's one of my I love that about his message, because he's saying no matter how you see God, let's see God with our face to it. Let's see God from our perspective, and let's go back and see that together
Yes,
with
sir.
that one God, one aim, one destiny. Man, I'm so grateful for that message and that man.
Yes,
I
sir.
just want
Yeah.
to add that to the convo real quick.
Yeah. Give facts. I've got a presentation on the spiritual legacy of Marcus Garvey. One day I'll deliver it on the live or something. But it's powerful. Like when you see the spiritual concepts that he was teaching and what the UNIA ACO did with the spiritual concepts that were being taught in the UNIA, even in the veil of Christianity, and moving beyond Christianity even. Yeah, it's a powerful thing. Never again. Are you online?
Yes, I am.
Greetings, my brother. Yeah.
Great thing.
What's your contribution to the conversation?
My contribution to the conversation is I'm calling out of Sweden, Stockholm, but I'm an African.
International. Go on. What's
And what I wanted to know, and I always wondered, was don't you think we could have a solution where we find people, a group of people, maybe up to like, I don't know, as many people as we can, and gather money in different currencies? Like I'm living in Sweden, so we have the krona. We probably have some African diasporans in France, in Spain, in England, in America, and we do like a thing where we gather money, find an African country that's willing to let us buy as much land as we can, and then take these ideas and show that they actually can work if you only have the right people in charge of them, and go back, buy land, build, and have communities where everybody thinks the same. Everybody's a Pan-Africanist. Everybody is African-centered in their mind, and just show the world and show other African nations that it actually works, but on a micro level. If we only start on a micro level, what do you think?
I think. All right. Let me just invite make our Kebalan great again into the conversation before I answer that. Make our Kebalan great again. Are you there? Make Al Kebalan great again. I do like that name, you know. It's a powerful name. Make Al Kebalan. If you're speaking, your mic is muted. Just letting you know. So you might need to unmute your mic. Can I unmute his mic? No, that's gonna remove you from the conversation. Mute mic.
In America, I need that on a shirt, make our cable great again.
Say that again?
In America, I need that one on a shirt.
Yeah,
Make
you
our
know what I
cable
mean?
great again.
Yeah, I like that one. It's a good one still. All right, make our Kebalan great again. Feel free to start speaking whenever you figure out how to unmute your mic. But yeah, to answer that question, so we're living in a time, yeah, whereby demonstration, yeah, is going to be the primary means of getting our people involved in what we're doing. Yeah, this African liberation fight. I think
Exactly.
when it came to the time of Marcus Garvey and many of our ancestors, some of the challenges that we were facing during those times, yeah, were so stark and so blatant that it was easier, and not to say that there weren't challenges, yeah, but it would appear, at least on face value, that it was easier, yeah, to mobilize, galvanize, and organize people around a black liberation agenda.
I disagree, brother, but I'll come in later.
Yeah. No, and I hear you, and there is good reason to disagree with what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the essence of the point I'm making is that I think now there are so many illusions of freedom that we have that we didn't have then. There are so many comfortabilities that we have now that we didn't have then. That when you speak to our people about what we are facing in today's world, sometimes it's even difficult to get us to convince us that we're actually suffering what we're suffering. You see what I'm saying? As
Yeah.
well as the fact that so many of our movements have come and gone and faced so many challenges that our people are often disillusioned, misinformed, or underinformed about our movements, and consider them outdated and irrelevant. And so piercing through that propaganda is a challenge that we have. And the best way to do that, as Marcus Mosiah Garvey says, is there's
Yeah.
no force like success. Yeah?
Exactly.
We have to
Perfect.
demonstrate
That's
success. You see what I'm
that's a
saying? So,
perfect way to end what you were saying, because
right.
that's what I was gonna say. One, there's a common trait within African people, and when I say African people, I mean black people in general. Okay, and this is what I've noticed, because I have different organizations that I've started up here where I am in Sweden. That's where I try to gather different African communities together to have like a Pan African type of situation. Okay, and Every time I've tried to do this since I was 17 years old, now I'm almost 30 years old. I've noticed this trait within African people. Africans never move until they see the idea or the thing that you are telling them about. When they see the thing done, that's when they start moving. So you can have a simple thing as a party. Okay, you can go. I can go to the Somali community here, and then I go to the Gambian community. Then I go to the Kenyan community, the Afro American community, and I tell them about this great party, this great festival I want to have, where we embrace different African cultures, and we are gonna need to contribute. Every different, all the different communities are gonna need to contribute. Let's say $100 each. The first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna look at me suspiciously, like, what? $100? Nah, we don't trust you. We think you're a scam artist or whatever. But as soon as you gather that money on your own and you go get the music, the music sound system and everything you need, and the food and the venues booked, and they start seeing people come, all of a sudden, now everybody wants to jump on that train. But when it was on the ground level, when you go up to them and you just tell them the idea before the idea even started, they never trust you. And this is the same thing that we have today when it comes to this Pan African idea. Because when I go back to the continent of Africa, when I go visit my cousins and my family in Africa, they are worse off when it comes to this type of thinking than even the diasporans. Because us here in the diaspora, we are mentally enslaved in that sense when it comes to our black brothers and sisters, that we always see them as the enemy and look at them suspiciously when they come up with ideas. But at least what we do have is we are not we are not uh, too hostile towards them. We can listen to them at least. But
Yeah.
when you go back to Africa and on the continent and you try to explain these things to people, you can even get killed. There's a such thing as mob justice in most African countries, where if you start bringing up like ideas of how religion is Christianity is wrong and how it's enslaving them, or how we all need to stick together and we need to leave some of these tribal, I mean, like, I don't like the word tribe, but you understand what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Some
Yes,
of
sir.
these tribal way of thinking, and we need to come together as one, because that's the world we're living in. It's a race. It's a competition. Okay, politically, they will even kill you because it's so foreign to them mentally. So that's why I started thinking, like, because we have a big diaspora and African community where people actually think alike. Like you were in London now, over here in Sweden, the other brother is in US, and we have this big community where people actually understand these ideas.
Never again. You seem to cut out.
Hello,
Yeah, yeah. Until he comes back in, I want to jump on what he's saying real
Yeah,
quick.
hello,
go,
hello.
go ahead, brother. Oh, never again. You back?
Yeah,
All right.
can,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Finish saying what you're saying, and then open up more.
Look,
One second, bro.
okay,
Make Caroline great again. Are you there, bro? Or
I
sis?
think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you
yeah,
now. I
yeah.
can hear you now. Good, 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 good.
Okay, okay,
All right,
okay.
cool,
What's
cool, cool.
going on?
All right, stay on the line, bro. Right. By the way, yeah, we got bare man on the panel, yeah. And one thing about the UNIA ACL, yeah, is that 60% of the organization, and I was gonna go into this before the brothers came on, but the most active auxiliary, yeah, was an female, all women's auxiliary called the Black Cross Nurses, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know about that.
60% of the organization was African women. So if there's any African women, yeah, who are listening right about now, yeah, that want to join the chat, yeah, you are most welcome. Yeah, in fact, you are encouraged. Yeah, I do like to hear the voices of our sisters on the chat. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when I do chats now, it's peer man come true, and I don't want to be nowhere, as Khalid Muhammad said, where there ain't no black women. So you know what I mean. So yeah, feel free. I just want to encourage the sisters them to come through on the chat. The live link is in the chat, so feel free to step through. Yeah, all right, go finish what you're saying. Never again.
Yeah, all I was saying was, if we somehow can find a way to all come together when I say come together, I mean the people that actually believe in these ideas, the people that actually believe in these ideas. If we can come together and show a prototype or some type of success, I'm telling you, the rest of the continent and the rest of Africa, the African world, all over the African world will join. Then, when we talk about it, when we are painting it up, the African mind today has been programmed to always see these type of ideas as foreign, as hostile. Like this is a trait that we have within us. And I don't know if you brothers agree with what I'm saying, but I'll give you a chance to go on. Well, and I hope you understood. My English is not that good.
Your English is fine, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
your English is perfect, bro.
Exactly. None of our Swahili is particularly up to par. That's the problem.
I'm saying.
But go ahead, Orthodox one. Go ahead.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is actually we're talking about the man who actually brought that model, right? And so when you compare to what Marcus Garvey did to what you were talking about, brother, you're going to find a slight difference. And this is why I brought up the whole spiritual aspect of what he did, because he came with an anti-colonial spirit.
Mm.
So he wouldn't go to a Christian and be like, don't be a Christian. He would go to a Christian and tell him something like this. Let me share my screen real quick. Let me see if I can do this. Screen share. Bam. 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 Okay. Can you see that?
No,
Yeah.
I think I got a. Hold on. Add to stream. Right. Yeah. Go on.
Okay, yeah. So this is what Garvey said about Christianity. He said a form of religion practiced by the millions, but as misunderstood and unreal to the majority as gravitation is to the untutored savage. We profess to live in the atmosphere of Christianity, yet our acts are as barbarous as if we never knew Christ. He taught us to love, yet we hate, to forgive, yet we revenge, to be merciful, yet we condemn and punish, and still we are Christians. If hell is what we are taught it is, then there will be more Christians there than days in all creation. To be a true Christian, one must be like Christ and practice Christianity, not as the bishop does, but as he says, for if our lives were to be patterned after the other fellows, all of us, bishop, priest and layman would ultimately meet around the furnace of hell, and none of us, because of our sins, would see salvation. And again, he talks about going back to Ethiopia. So when I go look at Ethiopia, I see there's a whole different form of Christianity being practiced there. Period.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so he didn't say put down what you believe. He said go home with what you believe. Like, so when we get to the points where we have a man saying I'm African and I'm Christian, I'm African and I'm a Muslim, I'm African and I'm an Israelite, etc., right, standing shoulder to shoulder to shoulder like he had, that's when we can have this unity that you're talking about. Because until then, like if I go to you and I'm like, hey, whatever you believe, there's something wrong with it, you're gonna look at me kind of funny, right? But if I come at you and say, there's something right with what you believe, but we can go home with it, you're gonna look at me a lot different. You feel me? And that's what I'm saying. There's a power to that message. Like if you go to Speaker's Corner right now, the beef is like, hey man, you don't believe just like me, therefore you're wrong, right? Versus, hey, you don't have to believe just like me, but we got our butt kicked this in the same way. And we're getting hit by the same oppressor. Therefore, how about whatever you believe? I'm glad you believe something that gives you a moral code. Let's go home with that.
Let me just say something real quick. I think the problem, what you said is perfect. What Gavi was trying to say is perfect. Really, you should meet people where they are and just work together. It doesn't matter. That's actually our nature as black people. We live and let live. But the biggest problem we have, and the reason why we've been under all these years, is because these ideologies work as soldiers to keep us down. Like it works on your mind in a way where when Shaka and Raven and all these people go to that part of the speaker's corner, every time they try to tell black people the most simplest things, they speak about their oppression and show them facts and give them like reality checks. Somehow something happens in their mind where they just blink, they turn into zombies and just fight the idea. It happens every time if you look at those videos. They will
Right.
listen, and you will see the eyes go like they will turn into like infants, like babies, like, oh
Right.
shit, that's true. But then, like 3 minutes later, this thing happens where they just go blank and they just start arguing, and they argue the most dumbest things. And every time they do that, the basis of why they're arguing always comes down to these two ideologies. It's either no, but Christ, the Bible says la 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 la, or the other side is no, 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 but in the Quran, the black man is not better than the white, and la la la, and they just forget the real thing that these brothers were trying to tell them, and that's the same thing that happens in Africa, and that's the same thing that's been happening since slavery. That's why black people never came up.
Right.
Indians,
But what?
Chinese, all these Singapore. If you take all these examples, they had those ideologies within the society, but the overall ideology was what's it called? Pan whatever they had, pan Chinese, pan. They knew that us being for ourselves is more important than all these other ideologies. We as black people don't understand those two differences.
Right, but look at what was just said though too. Like so what was said is about us as African people need to be able to see what's being said, not just hear what's being said. Right. So when Raven
Yeah,
has the right message, he's going speaking the Garvey concept, and actually he's getting fruit with that labor too, because you can see certain people like he might go talk to a
yes,
group of 10 Somali, but two of them might hear what he's saying. It might not be all 10, but two of them heard it. Right. So
yeah,
that two is better than none. You feel me? But the
yeah, yeah,
concept is this: if he went there saying, "Check this out. Here is how the Black Betterment movement. This is the next event. This is the next thing. Blah blah blah." Where it's actually physically tangible, more people are going to look like what you're saying. You're 100% right, and that's what Garvey did too. He's like, "We're moving this way. Go check out this project here. This is actually happening now." Blah blah. You feel me?
exactly. Mm,
It's marrying the two concepts.
yeah,
Even in that time, yeah, it like as successful as they were with going around and preaching the message, it was when they bought the first ship, yeah, that the membership skyrocketed.
Uh,
exactly, exactly.
At
Yeah.
that time, the demonstration of raw, this black organization actually has a steamship. Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
that was the biggest propaganda that they could ever have had. You know what I'm saying? My brother make our Cable great again. Has been struggling to stay in the conversation. So let me bring him in now before any technical hitches take place.
Hello, hello.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Greetings.
How you doing, man? You look good?
Yeah, we're blessed. We're blessed.
Yeah, obviously I'm a big fan of Garvey too.
Yeah,
Um I just I just don't like the way obviously people kind of try to portray him this day and age as, like he was like nothing, and he probably means a lot to black people. Or he
yeah,
definitely means a lot to black people, or we should definitely pay more homage to, Garvey and all the others ancestors that come before us as well. Um, my thing I wanted to kind of say is that um, when you look at like the Chinese and stuff, when they had their kind of trials and tribulations with the British and stuff, they kind of, shut out the whole world and went back and worked on their self.
Thank you. Yeah,
But
that's what I was saying.
yeah, but when we look at like, I don't know, let's say West Africa, how is West Africa supposed to do that with all the other kind of, other entities into like West Africa, especially with the British, the French, with their hands all over it? Like it's almost impossible to do the same thing.
No, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not.
How would how would they go about working on themselves,
Let,
especially with
yeah.
all these other influences in the
let, let,
country?
let me let me give you a simple solution that I think will work. There's so much money circulating, okay, within the different n- tribes. Okay, let's say tribes in just West Africa. There's so much fabric. There's so much food. There's so much raw minerals that if if let's say 60% of their West African population right now accepted an idea where they only traded within, they own, and all the money they gathered was to build up West Africa, it will work. If they just shut out the international trade market, just like Singapore did, just like Japan did mostly. China did the same thing, and then as soon as that side of the continent rise up and start, like, infrastructure gets better, and the G what's that called, GDP,
GDP.
yeah, the GDP of that region rises up. That's when they open up the market again, and they let the international community back in to trade with them. And by that time, they would have to have started some kind of uh, 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 I don't know how, yeah, trading policy. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but when the outside world comes in, you have to be in control of how the market is gonna work. You can't just let them come in with, like, using the dollar is going to be more valuable than whatever currency they decided is there, or or people, or let's say foreigners can buy land in your, like, there's different ways of doing it, but it's possible, if you ask me.
I think the essential component there is that if we're comparing it to China,
Yeah.
what China did, which that we are yet to do, is to fundamentally change the nature of the relationship between ourselves and the colonizer. Uh,
Yeah.
so in a sense of the fact that we never we never completely kicked out the colonizer in the independence era, so they were able to maintain control over certain key aspects of our society. Just
But Mugabe tried to do it, and we all turned on him.
Hey, well, this is again, which brings me back to what I was saying earlier about frequency. Yeah, increasing the frequency, because we didn't have enough of a propaganda machinery to inform our people as to what was really going on in Zimbabwe. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So that's part of the reason why our people turned on him, because they were getting these messages from the mass media
Propaganda, yeah.
about how brutal and terrible and
Mm,
wicked and bad Mugabe was,
yeah.
and what he was doing in Zimbabwe. But I like your answer to the question, and I'm saying that the reality is that the first thing that we have to do is fundamentally change the nature of our relationship with the West. Yeah, the
Yeah.
West has too much say, too much
It's not
control,
just the West,
and
even the
influence.
Arabs. We need to
I
stop
agree.
that. It's
I know.
both.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. I totally agree
Yeah.
with that. But
Foreign money in control. Period.
that's what,
Yeah.
But in saying, in
as an example, yeah, the so-called French-speaking African nations, the extent to which some 60% of their national reserve, yeah, is paid into the French
That's
bank.
crazy.
That has to
That's
stop.
crazy to me.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm
still
saying
crazy.
there's no way we can unify sufficiently with each other until we change the nature of that relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because that our relationship with France and Britain and America and Belgium and Spain, yeah, and Portugal is fundamentally impeding our and China, yeah, is fundamentally impeding our ability to relate to each other in productive ways. So the first step is we have to change. Well, we have to develop the kind of social relationship among ourselves that allows
Yeah.
us to fundamentally change the nature of our relationship with these people. Yeah.
And this is where I
I
think
don't,
Marcus Garvey
I
brought.
think,
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think that can happen unless there's some sort of game changer.
It's
Let
happening
me
right now,
explain why I
brother.
say that.
I want you to read
Let me
about the
explain.
success story of Rwanda. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Read about Rwanda and President Kagame. You will see. It's happening right now.
Um, okay, let me give you an example quickly. Yeah, let's say for one reason the West Africans were gonna say no. Basically, they're gonna kick every English British company out of Nigeria, Ghana, and they was gonna kick the Chinese out, and they was gonna kick the Arabs out, or let's say they was to
Okay.
do that. How long would that stance last, knowing the the force of all these other nations against West Africa.
Yeah, so it wouldn't last long if Ghana's doing it by itself. Yeah,
Self, yeah,
we,
exactly. West Africa. You
right.
said West Africa.
I'm
That's a
saying
big
right. If let's put it this way, Congo, yeah, as a nation is the size of Western Europe.
exactly. these
Yeah,
these
when we're
land
talking,
masses are
but
huge.
what are we talking? Are you talking manpower or are you talking
All of the
weaponry?
above. So
Yeah.
that's why I said was we have to develop the kind of social relationships with each other first that will
Mm,
allow us to fundamentally change the nature of our relationship with these people. Yeah,
mm,
because if Ghana does it by listen, Ghana is not an organic nation. Ghana is a creation of a colonizer. Yeah,
So is Nigeria.
I
So
should
is Ivory
all those
Coast.
countries,
So
and
is
I should be more specific when I say that. What I should say is that that
Africa as a whole.
the borders, yeah, the current
Yeah.
borders in on the continent, yeah, for the most
Mm.
part, are creations of colonizers. The reason why I'm making the distinction is because Ghana was renamed Ghana as an act of self-determination
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
following independence. So we have
Yeah,
to respect that. Just what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah.
But the
Hmm.
borders in which Ghana is housed is
And
a colonial
Burkina Faso as well.
yeah, like Burkina Faso. So I
Yeah,
respect, even though it's unfinished business, it's still a step in the right direction. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
we respect that step in the right direction. But the point is that the borders are you know constructs to facilitate colonialism, and so what has happened is since that time till now, those borders have continued to do that. They've continued to facilitate neo-colonialism, yeah, as
yeah.
Kwame Nkrumah would call it. So the point is that if we're acting as a bloc, yeah, beyond those colonial borders, there is something in the power that we have when we do that. Because, for example, we're not just dealing now with a nation that has gold and cocoa. We're dealing with a region
A
that has
region,
a
bravo.
whole myriad of resources,
Yeah,
and in order to trade, you have to trade with all of them. Yeah, you see what I'm saying? So it's like we're
yeah.
acting in a more unified fashion. The reality is that, and the other side of this to this as well, look, except for what they have in reserve, what Europe needs to fully perpetrate a war against us, it needs Africa to even be able to have to get the resources. Yeah,
Mm, mm.
and so it will take time because um, fundamentally changing the nature of our relationship with them would mean that their access to our resources would change, and obviously they have stuff in reserve in it, so it would take a period of time before yeah, their thing gets outdated and they run out. You see what I'm saying? But my point is that even what they need to fight a war with us, we have, and they could only do it if we're continuing to supply them with those resources.
And one thing I want to say as well is I don't see any problems with having China as a partner because I know this is going to be like controversial, but China is actually the right. China is doing business the right way, as nations should. China is coming to different African countries. They're telling them about an idea they have where they want to. Let's say Kenya. They come to Kenya and they say we want this amount of salt every year from Kenya. Then Kenya tells China, okay, for us to give you this, what are you going to give us? The Chinese are saying we have noticed that the Kenyan, let's say the Kenyan railway system is built the wrong way because we can make the Kenyan railway system, we can build it that in a way where it's more efficient, where people can travel to different distances within Kenya in a faster rate, and that's what we can give you. And that's how you're supposed to do business. I'm gonna give you this, and you're gonna give me this. The salt that we're gonna give the Chinese is helping the Chinese because they need that for the population. And what the Chinese are gonna give us is a railway system that's gonna connect the entirety of Kenya, where people can do business and move around in a faster rate. They
Yeah,
don't come there. They don't come there and impose their culture on us. They don't come there and impose their language on us. They don't come there and impose their clothing on us. They don't come there and impose their way of living. All they're doing is I'm gonna give you one thing, and you're gonna give me the other another thing. The only slight criticism I have when it comes to the China relationship with different African nations is that What I would like the leaders to do is tell the Chinese that while you're building this railway, I want you to educate my people as well. We're going to open up a school, and you're going to bring Chinese people to educate us, so that in 60 years we don't need Chinese to build it for us. We can build it for ourselves. But I know that I don't think the Chinese would agree on such terms, because when we start building things for ourselves, then we don't need them. But
the bro. In the site, let me just pay attention to the chat first of all. 1 second. Big up everything is everything. My brother from ATL. Big up to the family for that's Fred Cole, Tiff Pounds. I'm not sure if is that LBS. I'm not. Yeah, peace and blessings, family. They're saying. Big up Wun Wun. Big up T.A. Levi. Who else is there? National racialism. Big up national racialism. You don't know. Big up my queen Nahanda. And yeah, so that's that. Anybody that wants to join the chat, I'll share the link again. Anybody that wants to join the chat, I'm going to share the link again right now. Also, once again, put in the call out to any sisters here, because there's a lot of I love my brothers. You know what I'm saying? The black male energy is beautiful. I love to interact here with my brothers, you know, because especially because we're starved of images of progressive, you know, revolutionary black men who are able to converse with each other. You know what I'm saying? So we give thanks for this display of brotherhood on the line right about now. Still, I'm sure all of my brothers on the line would appreciate the inclusion of some feminine energy on the line right about now. Welcome that. So any sisters locked on right about now that, you know, it's inspired by the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey, or the conversation that we're having in general, and want to make a contribution or even just ask a question, feel free to join the chat. The link is in the chat right about now. The link is in the chat where you see my name, Shakara Speaks. I'll share I shared the wrong link. All on there. Let me share the correct link here. Let me share the correct link for people to join the chat so they can get in properly. Yeah, right. Now, coming back to what you was the conversation about China, I think your last point kind of spells out the problem, in the sense of the fact that our relationship with China only makes sense if we are negotiating with them from a position of power. Even with the best will in the world, China is not going to do for us what we're not going to do for ourselves. Yeah, and the reality is that at the moment we are not negotiating with China from a position of power. Even on the subject of labor, yeah, there are many instances where I'm hearing that the labor that is being used to build these railways and these bridges and these so on and so forth is actually Chinese labor. You see what I'm saying? And then there's the thing about whatever loans that China is giving, and basically the recompense for that loan, if the loan should we default on the loan for over a period of time, that natural resources, control over certain key natural resources, the price for that. So we have to be careful, yeah, where China is concerned. Now, the reality is that China, having been formerly colonized and understanding colonial history, knows it has to come to Africa with a different tact, yeah, a different negotiation strategy. It doesn't mean, however, that the effect is going to be any different unless we are negotiating from a position of power. You see what I'm saying? By the way, the link is in the chat. Yeah, kings and queens, more specifically queens. The link is in the chat. So when you see StreamYard, that's the link to join the conversation. If you want to join, feel free to click that link.
Can I add
Shaka. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to put something on what y'all were talking about, because I think you're touching on a fantastic point. I think everybody's correct on this one. You know what I'm saying? But check this out though. Like, so what we're seeing is the fact that Africa has an issue with debt, and that they're dealing with foreign nations in a sense, like, okay, I'll give you this to take care of that, basically, right? And so Marcus Garvey, this is where I think he brought a solution to the situation that we need to be looking at, in the fact that he basically made like a diasporic dollar. You know what I'm saying? Not physically, but he basically organized the diasporic dollar, right? To get what he wanted done. He tried to go a little bit farther than what he could organize, but at the same point in time, that's a big deal right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, so as far as the diaspora, we can actually be the funding source for the debt needs that Africa actually has, right? And organize in that fashion. So they don't have to go to other nations to get their money. They can come to us, right? So again, the diaspora is mostly West African. We're talking about West Africa, right? You know what I'm saying? So like,
I don't know. It's not mostly West African. There's It's spread all over. There's a lot of Somalis in the diaspora. A lot of, I don't know. I
Oh,
think.
okay. So I'm just saying, given the history of slavery, etc., whatnot, I promise you, there's more West
Oh, that's
Africans.
okay. Okay, you were thinking. Okay, in that sense.
Yeah, I'm talking about the way that the African
Yeah.
Union
Okay.
sees the
Okay.
diaspora. You feel me? Like I understand it's
Yeah.
everybody, but when you look at the percentage of it, it's largely West African.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So in that sense, I'm saying I'm gonna try to share my screen one more time if I can. Bam, bam, bam. Okay. So just over here in North America, right? Like the buying power in our communities, like we got $1.2 trillion to spend, right? And we're spending it on Jordans and Nikes and all and iPhones and whatnot. When we could be like, you know what I'm saying, following other people to Africa with that dollar and spending money with our people in the sense that we're like we can be funding our own debt versus letting other people buy up our nation. We can buy our nation back. You feel me?
Yeah. I agree.
The thing is though, that one of the things that we have to do though. By the way, national racialism. Are you with us?
Hello, 1, 2.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear
Greetings,
me?
Mr.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Mr. IC3 in the building.
Okay, good.
You good?
Good.
All right, stay
Yeah.
bro. Stay. We're just gonna get. I just want to read something from Marcus Garvey. That's pertinent.
Okay.
Yeah, to this particular aspect of the conversation. Yeah.
Right.
Right. He says, and I'm reading from a book called Message to the People. Yeah, the Course of African Philosophy, which is edited by the great and illustrious Baba Tony Martin. But this is basically the lessons that Marcus Garvey was teaching the next cadre of leadership that would come after him. Yeah. And he says, never confuse your ideas about Negro nationality with that of other peoples, so as to think that their nationality is good enough for you. Never think that if Japan gains control of the world, that they will treat you any better than Anglo-Saxons or Latins. Don't think that if Chinese or Indians get control of the world, your position
That's right.
will be better. All other races and nations.
Shaka, I think you misunderstood me, man. That's not what I was saying.
I know. I'm not misunderstanding you, bro. I'm just saying, yeah.
He's laying some precedence real quick.
I'm just giving some context, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, never. So don't think that if Chinese or Indians get control of the world, your position will be better. All other races and nations will use you just the same as slaves and underdogs. Therefore, your only protection is to have your own government.
Oh.
Don't encourage Negroes to join Japanese, Chinese, Indian, or any other movement with the hope of getting greater freedom. They will never get it because all other people want things for themselves. Explain this thoroughly and sufficiently so as to discourage ignorant Negroes from thinking otherwise. You should teach Negroes to have pride in their own nationality and teach them not to try to wear garments that typify membership of other nationalities. It is ridiculous and people laugh at them for doing so. Teach Negroes to look for honor in their own race and from their own nation and to serve their own race and nation and get such honor. Yeah. Now, what's it called? My brother, was it who said that? Make Akamelan great again, innit? Right? I'm not saying that you were trying to say that the Chinese are all wonderful. All I'm saying is that we have to be careful of them. Yeah, just what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course.
We have to be careful of them. Yeah, and I'm going to say this as well on the subject of teaching language. There is actually what they call more. They got a thing called Confucius Institutes. Yeah, popping up all over the African continent right about now. And the principal reason for them is to teach the Chinese language. Yeah, so they're teaching Mandarin in Ghanaian schools and these kinds of things. In fact,
that's for the people that want. That's for Ghanaians that want to work for Chinese companies that are based in Ghana. That's not not in the school curriculum.
My only point is that the teaching of the Chinese language facilitates the dissemination because
some type of
institutes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the cultural influence of China is going to.
But okay, let's
Confucius Institute.
Okay, let's do this.
If we're in a position of power, yeah, then we can absorb that for our own aims. My only point is that we are not negotiating with China at the moment from a position of power. That is
No, we're not. I agree. But what I was
And
trying to
China
say is,
refuses
okay,
to
let's look.
negotiate from a position of weakness. They don't do it as a policy.
They can't because they're one of the biggest economies right now in the world. They have to. We have to live in reality. If we want to do business with them, we have to know where we are. We are not in the same power position as they are. But listen, this is what I was trying to say. I wasn't trying to say that the Chinese partnership with Africa is perfect. No, what I was trying to say is let's look at the market, the international market right now. Okay, you have on one block you have the Westerners. Okay, and we know what they did. Our relationship with them is torn to pieces. It would never. I don't think it would ever be rebuilt. It's going to be a trust issue forever and ever and ever. Then we have the Arab bloc. The Arab bloc could work, but the problem is what I see. The Arab bloc is it's a proud bloc. With their dollar or with their money comes culture, comes a lot of things come with it before they agree to do business with you. Then after that, let's say we have the Chinese bloc, and from all these different blocks that Africa can do business with it right now, the block that I see that actually does business kind of the right way is the Chinese. It's not perfect. I'm not saying that we're doing business with them where they are not fucking us over. Sorry for my language, but I'm saying that the amount of years that China has been in Africa, more has been done in those years than any of these other people. The Arabs came; they never did what the Chinese did when we had a partnership with them. The Westerners, you already know what they did. I don't even have to explain that. So if we look at all these three examples, we still have to give the Chinese partnership some kind of like credit if we want to get to a position of power, because our aim to achieve what Marcus Garvey was saying, we have to play it the right way. We can't just jump into things like, okay, boom, let's do this, because we know it's not going to happen. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen,
Can I
but
please
we
jump
have
on
to
that?
do it we need partnerships on our way there. We need a
Right,
partner.
agree, but partnerships with
What,
who?
what,
Like, so
what,
he was talking about. He was
one
talking.
second,
Go,
because
go, go, go.
let's give national racialism a chance to say something if he wanted to, because he's been on the line for a second now. So
Great. Thank you. Right. I keep hearing these conversations of China's doing this, the Indians doing that. It's so boring, going on and on and on about what other people are doing. And you keep saying, I keep hearing the words we and our. Now, could we that are here discussing this, could we clarify exactly what we mean by we and exactly what an
Black
African?
Africans, black people all over the world is we.
All right, let's slow down. Black, you said black Africans. That's you. Does everybody agree that Marcus Garvey is talking about black Africans?
certainly, yes.
All right, okay. So let me write this down.
100%.
Black Africans. Right, okay.
Africa for Africans, 100%.
It seems it rolls off the tongue. Now, a black African, do you classify mixed race people born in Africa as black Africans?
Yes.
Oh, now we're gonna start getting into the next level now.
Yes, sir.
You know what? Yeah, if you know national racialism, then you were expecting this.
Yeah, I know.
I'm liking this line of questioning, brother, for real.
I'm gonna allow it for now, you know, my brother. I'm gonna allow it for now. Yeah,
But it's taking us away from the topic,
I
man.
know, but I'm gonna allow it.
Actually, I think it's right on topic, though, for real. Because what do you do with an Afro-Chinese population over time?
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back in a sec. But
Okay, yeah.
Go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Right, so let's slow down. Right. So, do we all agree that mixed race people born in Africa should be classified as black Africans?
Yes.
If they want to, they should be classified as Africans at least.
Otherwise,
Slow down. Somebody just said, if they want to.
Yeah, I said that because you can't take one side away from them.
What did you say?
If they want to, because I can't, me as a black a child of two black people, two black parents, can't tell a person of one white and one black
Here-
person
Here's
how to define themselves. But
here's
in a political sense, they're Africans. Yeah.
yeah, and here's the point, my brother. Yeah, as well, because there are people of mixed heritage from every nation. Yeah, but
That's right.
but China as a power, yeah, fundamentally did what was best for Chinese people, and their descendants of mixed heritage knew how to respond to that as and when they saw fit. Do you understand, what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
the existence of people that were half Chinese, yeah, was not a hindrance to China doing what was best for China and building up China.
Yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
we need not make the
I agree.
existence of dual heritage Africans a stumbling block
The problem. Yeah.
from which to do what is best for Africa and African people.
I think a legit question is over time is doing business with China the way they do business, because there's going to be a lot of Afro Chinese, right? Talking about jumbo in I forget, how do you say it? I even took Chinese. How do you say hello in Chinese?
Ni hao.
I don't know.
Yeah, ni hao ma. Yeah, ni hao. Yeah, exactly. Right.
Ni hao.
Yeah, like there's gonna be a lot of that popping up, right? Like so over time, does that strengthen Africa or weaken Africa, right? Like this is what I'm saying. Like and what Shaka Rao read earlier, like he was talking about like Marcus Garvey talking about the Negro nationality and having pride within yourself, etc., and all that type of stuff, right? Any respectable nation or people, right? They're going to borrow within themselves before they borrow outside of themselves, right? Do you feel what I'm saying? And that's why I'm saying organizing a diaspora type dollar is going to be integral in all this, because we have.
I agree, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Hold on, real quick though. This is the point I'm trying to make: is the people that came here through slavery are the ones who got to wake up. Because my brothers who come over here, like from Nigeria or from East Africa, right? They know what it is. Get money, send it home, right? Get money, send it home, right? My people over here that went through slavery need to wake up and recognize, hey, like Shaka Rao was talking about, like they're too comfortable, right? In the sense, like they got to be convinced that they're actually going through something. Like, and it I don't understand it, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's 2 out of the 10 that get it, right? But my 2 that get it, hey, we got to go move. We got to do something, because we got the money to make this thing happen. We're sitting on trains and we're killing ourselves buying Jordans and whatnot, standing in lines for days over that type of stuff, versus sending it back home when we got people killing themselves over this stuff, right? In debt to the IMF and the World Bank up to their eyeballs.
Yeah. And that's what I mean by fundamentally changing the nature of the relationship, because the reality is that the idea that any African nation owes any European nation or configuration of any kind, like the IMF and the World Bank, anything by way of debt is ludicrous. But because we don't define the terms, they can impose their definition of reality on us. Because the reality is that Africa is a net creditor to the West, to Europe, to China, to anywhere. Africa is always a net creditor because Africa is where the resources are. Yeah, so we don't whatever we're giving to them, we don't get back in return. So the idea that we are indebted to them is a nonsense, especially if we're considering the ideas of colonization and reparations. Yeah, there is no such thing. If we are defining the terms, there is no such thing as debt. Yeah, as far as Africa is concerned, its relationship with Europe. You know what I'm saying? There is only reparations.
Can I ask a question?
You can, bro.
Can I ask? Yeah. Okay. So, you said Black Africans. Do you believe that all of Africa has to unite under Black African identity in order to work together? Is that compulsory?
I would say is that all of the Africans. Yeah. So and I'm saying that because we appreciate that everybody in Africa is not African. If we deal with the North and we deal with the white people them in South Africa, Southern Africa in general, so South Africa, Zimbabwe, and other places. So that the Africans in Africa need to recognize ourselves as a unified entity in order to successfully throw off the shackles of neocolonialism.
It doesn't matter what we call ourselves. These things don't matter. Like we can call ourselves The pigeons.
What?
Nobody cares. It's all about a unified idea. Like we
Yeah.
need to be one in our way of thinking.
I,
It
I
doesn't
think
matter if
I feel that's typical. The emphasis of what I'm saying is not necessarily on the words black and African, but on the concept
yeah.
behind them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. That's
If pigeon means the same thing as black African, then I'm with you.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm down.
exactly. Yeah, me
I'm
too.
down with
Yeah.
that pigeon talk. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Okay, what is the concept? I don't understand what the concept is. Somebody explain to me.
Bro, you ask a question,
What?
and the answer to the question is
Yeah.
yes.
What's that?
You asked if we need to have a unified, basically to get rid of the terminology for a second. Do we need to have a unified identity? And the answer is yes.
Okay, hold it. So, what is that unified identity?
Black African, as using the language that we're using at the moment, it will be Black African, and the concepts
Right.
related to what it means to be Black and African.
Right.
The struggle
Okay,
of
good.
being black in this world.
Okay, right. Okay. So you'd go to the African Union, and if you was to give a speech to the African Union
Yes.
about how to make the African Union more effective, you're standing up now in front of the whole African Union, and you're going to
Yeah.
say to all those people that the African Union has to unite under the single identity as Black Africans, and that they're going to have to accept blackness. Is that correct?
In thought, in doing business,
in organization,
yeah,
heritage, and destiny. So it's not, and
in
it's not
idea,
right. It's not just
not
about
in word, not in the name.
because we have to bear in mind that the African Union is heavily funded by the European Union. Yeah.
Here we go.
And so the African Union has its limitations in terms of it being able to forward an agenda. Effectively,
Okay.
essentially, though, what we're dealing with is the people. Yeah. So, like, wherever body we organize under, it's about our people developing a shared understanding of our connection with each other. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I always talk about the research of an elder brother by the name of Kwesi Pra. Yeah. And he's a linguist, and one of the things that he does is that he discovers the links between various African languages. Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So
Okay.
he's mapped it down and basically said, look, all the languages, the thousands of languages, yeah, that we see on the continent today, yeah, are really subdivisions and dialects of about 8 to 12 root languages. Yeah.
Right.
And so, because we have been taught as African people to see ourselves as divided, separate individual so-called tribes, yeah, oftentimes the history of our commonalities is not, we're not operating with that on a conscious level. So if we understand the links between our languages, we're able to redevelop the understanding of our link to each other on a conscious level and begin to relate to each other based upon that consciousness, and that process will bring about what we're talking about. So it's not just about it's not just about telling people you're Black and you're African and you should accept it.
Yeah.
It's about actively going through the process,
Perfect.
of
Perfectly
making that meaningful in the lives of African and Black people.
Okay. So what is the process now? What's the first process?
Well, I've given
first
you an
step.
example. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've given you an example, but another part of the process is based upon that linguistic example. Let's say that we begin to develop trade blocks, yeah, based upon these shared languages. So let's say now that instead of 54 different nations, we've got 8 to 12 trading blocks that are based upon the shared languages, the commonality of shared languages, for example, on the continent. You see what I'm saying? So that's how you would develop it, yeah.
Right.
But you another way to start would be to have a direct impact upon the education system, to change the curriculum in the education system. You see what I'm saying? To develop develop an African-centered education curriculum that can be implemented in different nations on the continent, and so the children that are products of that education system will come naturally with the shared ideas and the ideology necessary to socially integrate.
Okay, good. That's very good.
Diaspora bank with the concept of alleviating Africa's debt. You feel me?
Yes.
I love that diasporan dollar. That idea is great. We need to work on that. We need to keep building on that. That's an amazing
But
idea.
if I understand Orthodox more correctly, though, correct me if I'm wrong, bro. Yeah. But what you're saying is it's not even necessarily the creation of a new currency, but it's the organization of the money
Yes.
that we have at the moment.
Yes.
It's about bringing it together in an organized fashion towards a particular agenda.
Yeah, like the brother was saying, like if you got the krona, the franc, the dollar, whatever, you know what I'm saying, the pound or whatever, hey, like all money spends, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah,
Okay.
but at the same time, though, if we're thinking bigger than that, because we have to even be going towards actually redefining the whole economic system. And I'm being a bit.
I agree. And
Yeah,
that it starts by being able to take the debt off our neck, right? And that's what I'm
right.
saying. So if we have the bank, if we have the bank being able to alleviate the debt, that's the breathing room to do what you're talking about.
I agree.
Good. I like
Rest
where
in
you're
peace
going.
to Gaddafi.
Sorry, hold
Good.
tight. 1 second, family. 1 second. I just got to send a special shout out to Shadi, because Shadi went to Australia, and I haven't interacted with her like since early when she went there, innit? I think she's back now. But big up Shani, yeah, because I haven't seen or interacted with you for
Assalamu alaikum, sister.
yeah. So big up to Shani. You done know, love my sister, and yeah, respect. I hope and I trust that you are well, Shani. All right. Having
Rest
said
in
that,
peace to Gaddafi.
any sisters, yeah, like I said, we got man them, and you know I love the man energy. I keep saying that, yeah, I do. I really love the man energy. Like I'm a man that I like to interact with brothers. Yeah,
I
like,
will jump off so a female can jump on.
yeah, no,
You only get 6 spots
you
on
don't
the
have
stream.
to, there's enough space. You don't have to. There's enough space. Yeah, but I mean, if you want to go, then fine. But I'm just saying.
No, I'm down to stay. I'm just saying I'll jump off to make room.
Yeah. There's enough space. But yeah, so if it does become full, then one of our brothers is willing to give you a space to any of our sisters who want to join the live chat. Yeah, because we do like the feminine energy. It's Marcus Garvey's birthday today. And so we're just, spreading the Mosiah vibration. You know what I'm saying? By the way, I neglected to mention at the beginning of the stream that in my organization, the Kingdom Revivalist Movement, we don't even call this month August. We call it the month of Mosiah. So this is the 17th of the month of Mosiah right about now, because August was named after Augustus Caesar, who was a devil, kings and queens. And so we don't really want to pay homage to the devil during the month. Our prophet was born. You know what I'm saying? So we don't call the month August. We call it Mosiah. So this is the 17th of Mosiah, and yeah, we celebrate Mosiah 31 days of the month. Yeah, and if you check my video earlier this morning, you would see me reciting. We have a daily affirmation, an affirmation for each day, and so yeah, you know what I'm saying. So that's what I do every morning when I get up. I read the affirmation for the day and meditate upon that. You know what I'm saying?
That's powerful right there. 31 days of going through being drawn out by God, being drawn out of the waters by God.
Yes, sir.
I like that.
I'm conscious of the fact, yeah, that as somebody who identifies as somewhat as a kind of a Muslim, yeah, that a lot of what you're saying about now, yeah, it would be considered haram. So I want to know how you negotiate that Orthodox war.
First of all, I'm a Quranist, right? Like, so all that stuff that they consider haram comes to, most of it comes to the Hadith. They don't find that stuff in the Quran. You know what I'm saying? So the Quran breaks down the concept that every nation gets a prophet.
Yes,
every nation gets a prophet.
Thanks for the correction, Rich. Yeah, you're right. Shirk will be considered shirk. Yes, but go ahead.
Same thing. It wouldn't be shirk to me because they want to say that Muhammad is the last and final messenger. They want to say that based upon one verse in the Quran, and they got a word all wrong. When it says Khatam an-Nabiyyin, it does not say last and final. It says seal and signet thereof, right? And Garvey talked about a black Muhammad. You feel me?
Yes, sir.
So,
yes, sir.
I'll battle any Muslim who wants to tell me that I got some shirk ways because I consider Garvey a prophet.
Okay, all right. Well, see, I don't have that hang up because I'm not a Muslim. See, so my prophet without question or fear or favor. Yes, national racism. Go ahead. Sorry, racialism.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I find this a lot when discussing with black people that they just go all over the place. Now we're talking about Islam. I thought that what we do is
start Islam, bro. We're talking about Islam. We're
stop, man. What's going on?
Yeah. We were talking about banking, right? Banking is a very serious issue. Very, very serious. Banking just blows away all of that because anyway, I won't go there. So does anybody know, or has anybody thought about how to start a bank and how banks work?
Yeah, I can answer that. But let me just ask you one question before I answer that. Do you see? Would you say that black people all over the world are going through a problem with this with this system we're living in right now?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Or everybody? Yes, obviously. That is obvious.
Okay, what would you say is the solution to that problem?
Right. Good. I like that. Now I like the tone. I like the tone that we're focusing on.
Okay,
solution.
what's the solution? Yeah.
Right. The solution is, as you've already mentioned, all of you agreed, but I mentioned already, is how it is in banking, because everything boils down to the manipulation of currency and money sooner or later. So I love the way the discussion was going as we started to move towards the banking, and that's where we're starting to move into the real solution.
Yeah,
I believe.
I'm gonna disagree with you though.
Sorry?
National racialism, Mr. IC3,
Yeah.
because finance, and banking are relatively new forms of economic systems. Yeah. I think fundamentally what governs
So
the
sorry, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that?
yeah, I'm saying that finance, like money, yeah, is a
Yeah.
relatively new invention. Yeah.
The
And the
new
bank,
invention.
and the banking system that organizes money is a relatively new invention. Yeah. And there are other systems for organizing money. So I would argue, for example, that a cooperative or a credit union would be a more viable means for us organizing money than a bank. Yeah, based upon a,
Interesting.
based upon an African centered kind of Ubuntu social relationship with each other. You see what I'm saying?
Okay. Right.
Right.
Okay.
I got you. I said bank because people know that word. But
Yeah,
but
no, 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 no,
I was interestingly enough though, like since Garvey basically ran off the Abrahamic traditions, if he was going to make a like an actual diaspora type bank, he would have made it off of those concepts like
same principles, which is
right,
exactly what
and it's a debtless system when you go that way. So it's very interesting that you say what you're saying, bro. I like
Right,
that.
that's what I'm saying because the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying is because money is not the principle. What is principle is people and natural resources. Yeah.
Good. Yes.
So we need
Yes.
to develop an economic system that is based upon our people power, our social relationships, and our natural resources. And I'm saying
Yes.
that bringing it because I'm so true in saying bring it back to Marcus Garvey. And that's what, so I do want to do that. But in the context of Marcus Garvey, when we look at what he developed and what the UNIA developed, we see the kind of the rudiments, the foundational principles for how to develop those systems from where we are at right about now. So obviously,
Yeah.
we may have relationships with banks as they said at the moment, but essentially our social relationships are organized us in such a way that we're able to develop a system at some point that goes beyond even the banking system of today.
Yes. Good.
Rest in
Good.
peace,
Yes.
Gaddafi.
Good. I like the way you're talking. Right. That's good. Now let's try and well, I'm suggesting that we should follow along and focus on what Zachariah just said and think about it because I think that's the crux of the matter. So, what would you suggest would be the best model to start off in that kind of community credit union or banking union?
Well, I think that when was it Never Again came on, he had a
Yeah.
suggestion, yeah, where he was saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, Never Again, but what I got from what you were saying is that we are often trying as small groups of people in different Western nations here to do work, whereby if we of the but there are people of our same mindset that exist in Sweden, in France, in Spain, in Britain, in America, and if those people were just to get together and do something serious on the continent, then that success story would be enough to galvanize a significant number of our people.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying.
Yeah. So what the brother was putting forward, national racialism, is that what we do is that we organize the people that have a similar mindset and just build on what those people agree on, to the capacity of the numbers at that time in it. So it's about buying land was his first argument. Buying land and building upon that land, building institutions and markets and education systems and that kind of thing on that land, based upon that group of people's proximity to each other, and inspiring other people based upon the success of what is being developed.
Before you jump in, before you jump in, IC3, I just want to say one thing. And I took that. Actually, you can even see that idea right now happening in the Arab world. Besides the wars that are happening in most of the countries, but if you look at Dubai, when Dubai started that project, none of these other Arab countries around them that are not under war had were thinking in those terms. They had all the money, all the oil, but they wasn't thinking in those terms in like modernizing the land. As soon as Dubai did it and it was a success story, now you see these things popping up all over the place. Qatar, you see Saudi Arabia trying to do it. You see Lebanon, some places of Lebanon trying to do it. And all of this is because of the success story of Dubai. And I think if we could do a similar thing, but as Africans and not just in infrastructure, but I'm thinking like even in curriculums, like in the way our kids in that community would be taught, like thought wise. I'm telling you, the rest of Africa will follow suit, because that's a trait that we as black people have in our blood.
All right.
We got it later on, but we have it now. We only follow success. Like we only do after we see things get done. We don't. We are very bad at trusting people from the beginning, or trusting ideas from the beginning.
Let me just shout out the chat quickly. Bring up my brother Kimmel. Yeah, bring up my brother Kimmel. I'm not on too many lives nowadays, so I don't always back up my brothers then. But it's nice to see my brothers join me in the thing. So big up Kimmel in the house. Big up Miss Rose in the house. Yeah, so big up Soul Trio in the house. Big up the whole chat. Right now, remember to like up the thing. I don't even know how much likes I got right about now. I'm not watching the like thing. But do like up the thing in it, like it up, and share up the link as well. Yeah, share up the link far and wide, and spread this Mosiah vibration. You know what I'm saying? Because Mosiah lives kings and queens. Yeah, and as we say, Mosiah is a prophet, and so the prophecy must continue. So why you just share the prophecy still? You know what I mean? I was gonna say one more thing. Oh yeah. The other thing, though, to what Never Again is saying, yeah, is that we're going to have a means of protecting what we're doing, because we have these examples in our history where there's obvious success, but because, not put it this way, the people that are trying to oppress us are not going to leave us to be successful. Just what I'm saying. You know what I mean? And,
Right.
and another thing is that they have their agents embedded among us.
That's right.
Not among us. When the people I'm talking about are the people like me, you, and everybody in this panel. We have.
I know. Let's say though, bro, because if let's say we all do that and go to Ghana and we're building, the reality is that the Ghana government is still beholden to the West and it's still neoclassical.
Okay.
That's what
Yes.
I mean. I'm just saying that they have their agents consciously and unconsciously among us. So we're gonna have
Yes.
to fight for protecting ourselves, because, for example, I look at the this year is the 40th anniversary since the founding of the Grenada Revolution, yeah. And then you have examples like Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, yeah, and they did monumental things, monumental things. Just one example of things that they did, yeah.
But if you read about Rwanda, it's happening right now. President Paul Kagame is doing it right now in Rwanda, and nobody has stopped him because he's doing it the right way.
Big up to my sister Shola from Birmingham, and SAR Events is locked on. Check out SAR Events. Sis, if you got any events coming up, post the links in the chat, please. I beg. Yeah. Paul, you know what? I'm gonna see. I gotta get my auntie Afi on. Yeah. On on a chat one of these days soon. I did speak to her about this before. But Kagame is an interesting case, and I'm not informed enough to 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 really deal with it. I think there's something there, but I don't think everything that that we think is them is there. If that makes sense. But I don't want to speak
The
on it
only
because I would need to inform myself more on Kagame
yeah.
specifically. But yeah, it's an interesting case though. It's definitely an interesting case. But especially if we look at Rwanda's relationship with Congo, and you know what I'm saying, them kind of things
Yeah,
there.
those conflicts that go deep. Those are things that if we're about to speak on them, we need to know about, like the history. There's
That's why I'm
it's
saying
not
what I'm
yeah.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Those
I'm not
things are
you know what I mean? Because it's not like I don't wait. There's things that I know, but there's gaps in my knowledge at the minute, and so I'd like to be more informed before I go into that. You know what I'm saying? But I do hear you in terms of examples that we looked at on the continent. You know what I'm saying?
but Sankara is if we can put Paul Kagame aside and just think about Sankara, and you can keep teaching us about that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no. What I was gonna say, just as an example, yeah, of one thing that Sankara did, is that he organized the nation, yeah, to combat desertification, the expansion of the desert, by planting over 1 million trees. And
Yeah,
someone say several
trees.
million
Yeah,
trees, yeah.
yeah,
And he was part of his program. He organized school children and just general population to plant over 1 million trees. That is
yeah.
madness. And I heard that something similar happened
It's happening
recently
in Ethiopia.
in Ethiopia. Yeah,
Yeah, it happened. Yeah,
Ethiopia. Just what I'm saying. So I'm saying that it's these things are possible. Just what I'm saying in places like Grenada under a revolutionary government. Yeah, they quadrupled like the adult literacy rate in the space of like 4 years. It's madness.
wow.
So it's like these things can be done, but when they were doing them, the American government invaded and the French government infiltrated to you know what I'm saying, to create a situation whereby Thomas Sankara could be assassinated. You see what I'm saying? So you know what I mean. My point is that it's not that we haven't achieved things. It's that oftentimes when we achieve things, yeah, they're destroyed often because they're isolated, and then the memory of what we've achieved, it gets lost in history. The next generation that comes only knows about the destruction. They don't know about the successes, and
But
that's why we celebrate
we
Mark.
still
But go
we
ahead.
still have to remember that no matter what we do, the race is still going on. Like these people are not gonna let us do it. Like we are not gonna let them mistreat us. They are never gonna let us rise up. This is a game it's a boxing match. No matter where we go on this planet, it's gonna happen. But the Chinese managed to win that fight. The Singaporeans managed to win it. Why can't we? Like
I'll tell you why. For the most part, what they went through in terms of colonialism was not preceded by four or
it's
500
not the same. Yeah.
of,
It's not the same.
slavery.
I agree.
And the cultural destruction that took place where African people are concerned. Like when after the Chinese were colonized, they still knew they were Chinese. Yeah,
Yeah.
that there was still they put it this way, there was less destruction of their cultural legacy. You know what I'm saying? And they were a massive diaspora, so they were very much still mostly, for the most part, in China. You see what I'm saying? You know, so that's not to say that there's nothing that we can learn from them. You know, it's just that we have to recognize the similarities and the differences. You see what I'm saying? But
Shaka,
go on.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that, but it also means that even though we can say that that China might have had much more of their cultural legacy intact than we did, that's still a lesson for us in the sense of the fact that in order to unify, in order to get what we need to get, we need to reconstruct our cultural legacy, and develop ways and means of living based upon that. But yeah, go ahead. Who was going to speak? I missed you was going to speak. Go ahead.
No, what I wanted to say is that
go ahead.
Yeah. No, what I was trying to say is I think I would like to get these numbers. Nobody has done it yet. I would like us to find the numbers of how many diasporans right now that we can count that if we could have a number of all of us that think alike on the diaspora, I promise you it's over right now. It's over a million because this consciousness has grown so much within these last 10 years with this generation that I promise you, if we could get the numbers on it, it would be over a million people. And if all of us could unite together and in an idea of going back and doing something on the continent, no, but we would be unstoppable. I'm telling you. The brother just put up a link of the Afro Americans, and they were spending, I think, 1.2 trillion dollars or something like that. Out of that money, maybe 300 or 400 million dollars is being spent by people that are actually conscious, but don't know where to put their money. Some people are investing in Ghana. I've seen some people go back and invest in Ghana, Gambia, Senegal.
Wait, where you say you are? You're in Sweden, bro.
Yeah.
What's the black population like in Sweden?
In Sweden, it's there's a huge black population. I would say around like maybe up like 200,000 blacks. Yeah.
And so and of that 200,000, like what percentage would you say is on like a conscious?
Like 20%.
20%.
20.
That's quite a large percent.
That's yeah. And if you think 10 years back, that 20% was like maybe 5.
Okay. Point taken.
So all of this is within 10 years. Like people just all of a sudden start waking up, start seeing the world through African eyes, and start thinking. But the only problem is most people I meet, like that within that 20%, everybody knows the problem and thinks about solutions and tries to find solutions. But we feel like we are too. It's a small community. But when I start looking at France, and then I start looking at you guys in the UK, then I start looking at the States, then I start looking in Norway, in Russia, I see these communities pop up all over the place, and I'm thinking, how can we gather all of us together? Because that would be like the starting block. Because when we do it, all these other 80% that's not really there yet, they would just see success and start thinking, yo, what's going on over there? And start joining one after another. Within 50 years, I promise that 20% in Sweden would be, I don't know, 60, 80. Garvey.
So
no, no, that's wrong.
Why is it wrong?
I
see free.
Good. I go with the needy fuller view, because needy fuller pushes the opposite view, in that you've got to promote individual activity, because a lot of people they're waiting for us all to come together, but being together is just like being together at the bottom of a slave ship.
Yeah.
You know, white supremacists, they don't need to lump together. They have a code.
But they do though. They create organizations like the IMF and the World Bank and the United Nations and the World Trade Organization and the World Health Organization and the EU.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, they have a code. What the Africans doing? They're just saying, "Oh, we need to come together."
And NATO.
Code?
Say that again.
Yes, but they have a code. The white supremacists have a code. Yes. That's what makes them come together and work together.
That's the beautiful thing about celebrating Marcus Garvey, because Marcus Garvey. I'm saying that's the beautiful thing about celebrating Marcus Garvey, because Marcus Garvey and the UNIACO presented a code, and they demonstrated the success of using this code, and fundamentally, because what they did, I'm going to read something again from Message to the People in the Course of African Philosophy, all right?
Okay.
That might address some of what we're talking about right here, We're celebrating Marcus Garvey, so I'm going to inject as much words of Marcus Garvey into the conversation as possible. I make no apology for this fact, Let the prophet speak, all right? Organized society, this is on the subject of the purpose of institutions, Organized society is always a mass of people, and as such, cannot do anything explicit or by detail by themselves. Hence, the organization of institutions to do the particular work that cannot be done by the masses as a whole. There are different kinds of institutions in a society, but each institution has its particular function. Whether it be the church, the college or university, school, hospital, academy, chamber of commerce, fraternity, trade union, literary club, sports club, athletic club, gymnasium, YMCA or YWCA, etc. In our present civilization, no society would be considered functioning properly if such institutions did not exist. Therefore, it is necessary for the Negro to pay close attention to developing the appreciation for institutional life. It is not necessary or binding that he copies completely the systems, methods, or manners of these institutions, except insofar as they would go to help him to promote a higher life and in accomplishing the most out of this organized society. It is incumbent upon him that he also have and control his own institutions based upon his own cultural and civilized idealisms. That taps into this thing about code, yeah. As for instance, he may have his own church, but it is not necessary for him to adopt the particular articles of faith of the churches of alien races. This is where it gets controversial now. This is where it gets controversial, yeah. He is not a Hebrew, therefore he would not adopt the Hebrew faith. He is not by origin a Roman Catholic nor an Anglican, because these faiths or religions were founded by white men with an idea of their own. Yeah, it gets less controversial now. In his religious philosophy, the Negro may safely adapt articles of faith to link him to the Godhead of the Christian faith and practice such as his particular religion, and so likewise all other institutions. Last paragraph. His universities, colleges, and schools may engage in the same process of education, but with an adopted curriculum necessary for the special benefit of the Negro. His clubs, academies, and unions should be modeled in the same way, with the absolute objective of attaining the end that is particularly desired by the race. So the whole point of this is that we're not just campaigning. We're not just trying to get the attention of the oppressor. We have to build institutions that serve our own needs. That's what I'm saying. And in the building, well, prior to the building of these institutions, the mere fact, yeah, that we are building these institutions for the purpose of developing, bettering, and liberating African people, there's some semblance of a code that manifests itself just based upon that principle, that intention. Yeah. Then, if we're building the institutions based upon our own culture and civilized idealisms, we have to be going into delving into what is our culture, what are our civilized idealisms. Yeah, we developing more codes as regards to that. You know, where that is concerned. You see what I'm saying? So these are the things that you have to go through. But fundamentally, institution building is another agenda. Before anybody speaks, I think I've got a super chat. I got a super chat. Big up to Miss Amelia for licking up the super chat. You done know we enjoy that. You know what I'm saying? I don't really call that for super chats, but I got one, so we give thanks. Miss Amelia says, do you all agree that the nature of the way in which Africa trades needs to change? Right now, Africa is exporting raw materials and not manufacturing. We kind of touched on that earlier, Miss Amelia. And yeah, we all agree that the fundamental nature of our relationship with the West, and anybody else, including the Chinese, including the Arabs, everybody needs to fundamentally change. Yeah, that's definitely the case. Having said that, anybody that's got a question, we're celebrating Marcus Mosiah Garvey's birthday. So anybody that's got a question on anything that we're discussing, especially as it relates to the life, the legacy of Marcus Mosiah Garvey and the UNIA ACL, feel free to ask it in the chat. But even more, you know, we encourage you to join the conversation. Yeah, I'm going to share the link again, especially the sisters. Then, so we've got a question from a sister right there, Miss Amelia. I'm assuming you're a sister. You know, you have to clarify these things in 2019. I'm assuming you're a sister, Miss Amelia. So yeah, But anybody that wants to join the conversation can feel free to do so right about now. How long have I been on? I've been on for 2 hours and 19 minutes. Let's say I'm going to give it another 40 minutes because I got a family, kings and queens. I got a queen and we got some children. And you know what I mean? So we have to, you know, got to take care of the family business as well. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it's Marcus Vice
Now,
worth it. Yeah.
question.
Go ahead.
That's a question. Okay. What is black culture so that we could know what the code is? Is there a code?
Ah,
What?
that's a beautiful question. I'm going to give way to for anybody that wants to answer before I answer it.
Okay, so what I would say, black culture, it's really our manners. It's our manners. Like I think I read something that said that language is not just the way the words we speak. It's
Mm,
also the way we act.
mm,
And if you look at the black world, now I'm not talking black African, I'm just saying black world, people with melanated skin. And even if you look at the children, like from a young age, because I've worked in schools, and all children from different parts of the world, the way their languages, not just the words they speak, but the way they act, their manners, you can see a collective, like a, a similarity within them. African children, or I mean melanated children, usually act and speak the same way. If I put on music, they will act and speak the same way. If I throw in a ball, a soccer, a football, or a basketball, or any type of sport, they
mm,
will normally act and speak the same way. Same goes for Europeans. The same goes for Indians. The same goes for Arabs. So when you say black culture, it's really hard for me to say what I can't really say there's one black culture, because there's so many different ways of this language. We express it in so many different ways, but the root of it is always the same. So the way I would describe black culture is that we speak the same language. We don't say the same words, but we speak the same language almost all over the world.
Okay. Okay. So, what is white culture? What is white
That's
culture?
the way the language, like people speak. If you just sit back one day, go to a park where there's a lot of different people, and just sit back and try to analyze people, you will see that people groups speak a language. I'm not saying the words that come out of their mouth. I'm talking about their mannerism, the way they interact. Like it's a spirit. It's a spirit within all different type of peoples, and you will see that Europeans, for most of what I know, they act and speak a language that's similar to each other, and
Yes.
and the same goes for Africans.
Okay. I accept
And
that.
that's a
So,
culture. That's something that's
all right.
within them.
So, is African culture inferior to white culture? Is African culture inferior to white culture?
Hold on. Before we go into what is
No,
white
there's
culture, hold on,
nothing.
hold on,
There's
hold
no.
on,
In
hold
my,
on, hold on,
in,
hold on. Before we go into what is white culture, let me contribute to this black culture argument. Yeah. 1 second. Somebody sent me a private chat. 1 second. Who's gone? Oh, Orthodox Moore's gone. I got to drop off. Big up to Orthodox Moore. Yeah, big up to Orthodox Moore. And thank you for your contribution to the conversation, my brother. Very much appreciated. Very, very enlightening and positive and productive. Right, culture. Yeah. Growing up in the Al Qaeda and revivalist, what we were taught is that culture is the collective personality of a people manifested in their natural and complete way of life. Culture is the collective personality of a people manifested in their natural and complete way of life. There's a saying, and I first heard it from brother Wade Noble, that says, "Culture is to humans like water is to fish," meaning that we're never existing outside of a culture. The only question is, what culture are we existing within? So as far as African culture is concerned, African culture is the collective personality of African people, the composite experience and way of
Exactly.
life of African people,
Exactly.
and how it
Uh,
manifests over time. Yeah. So
I
with,
agree.
if we look at studies, make our Caroline great again. Something about connect. Oh, you're back again. Okay, cool. Yeah, if we look at studies, for example, Sheikh Anta Diop here, the cultural unity of Black Africa, we'll be able to find the cultural DNA
Yeah, that
African
exactly.
people. So it might, and I think the beautiful, never again. This is a beautiful statement, and I'm going to borrow this statement from time to time, my brother. So thank you for it, with your
Or
permission. But it's when you said that we don't speak the same words, but we speak the same language. That's a beautiful statement.
yeah.
I want a round of applause for that statement right there. That's a beautiful.
Okay, very good.
That's a right. I was at I was hosting an event last month at the end of last month, yeah, called the Hidden Science of Black Music, and Robin Walker, for example, was demonstrating the genealogy of black music from the continent to the diaspora, yeah. And you know what I'm saying, and the linkages between it. We've got linkages in our languages, we've got linkages in our spiritual systems, yeah. And so
Yeah.
when coming out of our but through our experience, yeah, our culture I either adapt, basically it adapts to oppression, or it develops in rebellion to oppression. That's what I'm saying. When it adapts to oppression, sometimes it assimilates some of the oppressive culture, yeah, of the colonizer. You see what I'm saying? So part of the work that we have to do is exercising our culture, ridding our culture of some of the colonizers' culture. You see what I'm saying? Whilst affirming some of what we've developed in rebellion to the colonizer culture at the same time as well. I hope that.
Okay, okay. So I'll ask the question again. Is African culture superior to white culture?
I think it
African
is at the
culture is
moment. Yeah.
superior to white culture in relation to African people.
What? What? There's no such thing as inferior and superior when it comes to culture.
No, no,
Every people group has different ways of
you know,
of
I
Why I
agree
say
with you.
inferior?
But I'm
Why I
saying,
say
Are you
inferior?
sure? Are you
no,
sure?
I'm going to agree with you. But I'm going to say, as far as
what?
African people is concerned, yes, African culture is superior. My qualification is this:
Is what? What did you
Africa,
say?
as far as African people
It's
is
superior.
concerned, yeah, African culture is superior. Yeah,
Really?
because yes, because their African culture, yeah, can do for us what other cultures cannot
Okay,
do.
yeah, 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 yeah. In that way.
You know what I'm
No,
saying?
no. You're saying it
But
can
I would
do.
say I would say that African culture right now would be inferior because we're not practicing it.
I,
Okay.
and I would agree with your statement. Um, or, I would more
I
state like this:
disagree.
we have inferiorized ourselves because we have not valued our culture enough.
I disagree with. I disagree. I have to say I disagree with almost everybody on the panel right now because the way I see it is, first of all, what Shaka said is true, that African culture should, in African eyes, it's superior because it benefits us. But I don't see that as superior. I see that as beneficiary. I see Africans valuing their own culture more because it benefits them. I don't see them like pushing down on other people's culture. I just see they look at cultures and see that this don't benefit me, so I really don't need it. But you go ahead and do what you do. I'm gonna do this because this benefits me.
I
And
agree
when
with
it
this.
comes to us not practicing African culture, that's what I was trying to say, brother. That even if you're over in the U.S., just because you see these documentaries about African culture where they dance without clothes and la 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 la, that's not that's no different from the way you express yourself in where you are. Like African culture is our is our way of expressing different things, and we do it the same all over the world.
No,
Okay. So
I believe that. I believe um, in what you're saying. But in terms of the question, is African culture superior?
Superior.
Yeah, we can't turn around and say it is superior because
No, We can.
we would look at parts of our culture and be ashamed of it.
What? Say that
Like
again.
what part?
Or if I spoke to just the normal black person or the regular black person from the diaspora, and I spoke
Yeah.
about African spirituality,
Yeah.
they would be like, no, we don't do that. We love Jesus Christ, or we're
Yeah.
Muslim,
Right.
or whatnot. How
But that's
can
because their
I
mind is
think
not.
African spirituality is probably the biggest part of African culture. In
No, the
fact, the
African
first
That's
spirit.
thing.
right.
The African spirit. It's not a spirituality. It's your spirit. Even if you're Muslim, even if you're Christian. That's why you see Africans, when these different people groups come into Africa and present a religion, most times Africans become more religious than these people because it's the spirit within these people. It's not a
Thank you.
spirituality, it's the spirit that's within you.
Thank you. So that spirit was probably
Yeah.
developed through African spirituality. No,
No, I think that spirit is born within you, even without African spirituality. African spirituality is just was. I think African spirituality is just the way we described what we feel and what and our thoughts about the afterlife and the unseen and God and all these things. But these
Can I
things are within you.
but what would are you are you?
one sec, brothers. One sec. Let me just promote something here because I did a presentation. How long is this presentation? It's a whole 2 hour presentation, yeah, hour and 57 minutes, yeah, entitled "Towards African Liberation: Revolutionary Culture and Economics in Practice." Yeah, it's a video in my my list of videos. So go back and check that out in it because it deals with this question of culture and how it relates to economic development. Yeah, it's a powerful
Yeah.
presentation. If I do say so myself, not necessarily because of me, but because of the information that was gathered to put it together. For example, here's a quote, yeah, from a man by the name of Amilcar Cabral, and he was a revolutionary leader in Guinea-Bissau, yeah, and he's got a brilliant speech called "Culture and National Liberation." I urge anyone to read that speech because it breaks down the subject of culture as it relates to liberation fights very very well. But he said the study of the history of national liberation struggles shows that generally these struggles are preceded by an increase in expressions of culture, consolidated progressively into a successful attempt to affirm the cultural personality of the dominated people as a means of negating the oppressor culture, whatever may be the conditions of a people's subjection to foreign domination, and whatever may be the influence of economic, political, and social factors in practicing this domination. It's generally within the culture that we find the seed of opposition, which leads to the structuring and development of the liberation movement. To put that more simply, Steve Biko said the best way to defeat an alien culture is to live your own.
Mm,
So
that's very
Is
can I
true.
that
ask a
is that
question?
is that breaking down? Is that saying that going by African spirituality is the way forward rather than Islam or
Nah.
Christianity, or
It,
was
I
that
would
what you
say
was trying to say, Shakara?
Good
Is that what I was
question.
trying to say? That's not necessarily what I was saying. In the quote, I mean, my personal sensibility, yeah, is would harmonize with that. You know what I'm saying? I would say though, however, that at the very least, what we need to do is Africanize our Christianity and our Islam. You know what I'm saying? Which is what Orthodox Moore was talking about earlier. You know what I'm saying? In a
Okay,
sense, we need to find
yeah.
expressions of these religions that relate specifically to our experience as a people, rather than what we've been doing, which is lauding and worshiping and elevating other people in the practice of these religions.
Alien groups.
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask a question?
But what I will say though, that in that endeavor, yeah, there is nothing that I believe that achieves that more than African spirituality, because there's no contradiction there. That the ancestors are our own; they're explicitly our own. We don't have to find black people in the Oduifa. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, or the Medjugorje. They're all over
We
it.
we ain't got to learn another language to,
Right, all
you
that
know,
kind of stuff.
understand what they're saying.
I would argue that the most beneficial or the most seamless spiritual focus that allows us to achieve exactly that is an African spiritual focus. Yeah, so I'm saying. However, like we were saying earlier, that our brothers and sisters are in various different religions, and they're not going to come out of it out of them anytime soon. So we have to encourage is an African-centered approach to the practice of these religions, and the ensuring that the practice of these religions doesn't present a hindrance for us uniting, or you uniting with your Yoruba Ifa practicing brother, your Voodoo practicing sister. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and that kind of thing.
Can I ask a
Yeah, I
question?
just
I
feel
think.
that.
Go
Can
ahead,
I ask a
Isaac.
Yeah,
question?
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Based on what you just said there, how does the black African effectively Africanize other religions and cultures? Like, how do you Africanize Islam? How do you Africanize Christianity? What does that mean?
So, sorry, let me let somebody else answer that first. I'll come back.
I think we kind of already do it. Like, I think sometimes, like, even when, like, you know, when people are down in speakers corner, there might be like, even I'll give an example, like Maku, for example. A lot of the Muslims and speakers corners will say he's not Muslim, when he will say he's Muslim, but he just practices Islam in a different way.
Mm,
I think we kind of already
that's true.
kind of
Yeah.
do it. I think, like, even Nation of Islam, for example, I wouldn't say theirs is their way of practicing Islam is similar, is the same as the Saudi Arabian way of practicing it. So I'd kind of say it's probably already Africanized already. But I think the challenge is how do you get black people that are following the Arab way of Islam to follow the African way of Islam, if that if
Can
if
I,
that if that makes sense.
What is
I
an
don't want
what,
African way
people.
what,
of Islam? What is an African way of Islam?
Um, I would
simple. The
say,
African way of
like,
Islam is being an African and Muslim at the same time. There's no
at the same
contradiction.
time. Yeah,
How do you do that? Okay, be a white
What's the
person and a
brothers?
Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait. There's a brother in Gambia. I think in Gambia or in Senegal. There's a Muslim community there. I think Shaka, you know more about this. What's
yeah.
that?
I'm gonna.
What are they called? The
Yeah, but they're known
Baba
as
something.
the Morid or the Barfowls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
They consider Sheikh Amadou Bamba.
Yeah,
As
Sheikh Ahmad
Yeah,
Bamba, that's
but
the name.
Sheikh Abdi Baba is basically the founder and the leader of what they're dealing with. I don't want to say if they consider him the Mahdi or not, because I could be
No, but
mistaken.
the way I would say the way they practice Islam is from an African perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
Do they go to Mecca? Do they go to Mecca?
The same way, there are a lot of Orthodox Muslims that actually don't consider them to be Muslims, but they
Yeah, but
are.
that always happens. That
Yeah,
always happens when
they,
people tell.
they would be considered Sufi, but they practice Islam with a significant level of African spiritual retentions. Yeah, so
Exactly.
now
And the same. The,
when, for people like me who are African spiritualists, and believe that this is the way to go, there we have to understand that this is a journey, it's a process. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And so for me, I am always curious and inquisitive and willing to know and learn about African retentions or African expressions, even within so-called Abrahamic religion. So if I go to Senegal, I'm going to visit the Balfours. Yeah, like that's the straight
Yeah,
up saying that. That's what I really want to do.
I'm
That just I'm saying,
I'm the same.
I'm saying, I'm not necessarily interested in necessarily in their Islam. I'm interested in their African retention of Islam. If that makes sense. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
exactly.
I mean, so yeah, but among many of the Sufi practicing Muslims, you will find in Africa, you will find a lot of African retentions, just like you find it in many aspects of the Black Church. This is what I'm saying. What
No,
the
yeah, in Ethiopia.
Yeah, Ethiopia as well. The only
The Habesha do.
right, but what's unique about the Balfours though is that they had an expressly anti-colonial expression as well. So it was their thing was political as well as it was religious. You know what I'm saying? And so oftentimes we tend to depoliticize our spirituality or our religion, and that means that we're not related in the real world very very well. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, so but it's a process. Is the point I'm making. So we may find, you know what I'm saying, that through the journey of us relating to each other based upon these various different spiritual practices, we develop new ones. Yeah, or you know what I'm saying, or out of them, or synchronized movements out of them. My point is, it's a process. So we're not going to get everybody to stop practicing Islam or Christianity tomorrow. It's not going to happen if that is
No,
even
no,
our
no,
aim.
no.
It's not going to happen.
That's
So we
not even.
relate to people where we are at the moment, and through our relation, we find ways of the people that are in those religions will find ways of practicing their religion in ways that is not
But
contradictory
still being themselves.
to their Africanness, where they can express their Africanness through their religion, and they can be African politically and culturally whilst practicing their religion to whatever extent.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
so,
agree.
so does that make their culture inferior, or like what was used earlier, uh, beneficial culture? What is the most beneficial culture now? Not what can be, but
Yeah, no,
what is.
we've already answered that, bro. I've given my answer anyway, and I'm saying that you ask somebody else, they might give you a different answer. But because we're celebrating Marcus Garvey, the point that is being made is that we must essentially the fundamental factor is that we must practice whatever we're practicing in a way that it benefits us as African people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the fundamental thing. Yeah, that is the fundamental.
I don't understand.
So within
I
that,
don't
so within
understand.
that, yeah, the brother or sister who's practicing Christianity and seeking to have an African sense of focus will find their way, yeah, with that intention. And as generations go, that will develop and it will transform and it will evolve. Same for the
Into what?
pardon me?
Into
Involved
an
into
African
what?
into an African way of practicing these religions.
Hopefully, or
No, no,
definitely.
no. I'm saying,
Yeah, but
I'm saying the intentionality of being African, yeah, will inform how it evolves. Now, we may find, yeah, we may find that through the evolution, all the people them generation after generation actually just find that they can practice an African centered spiritual so-called religion, and they find yeah, that's it may develop to that, yeah. But the stages between now and then are varied and they're multi-layered and they're nuanced. If that's going to be
yeah.
the ultimate goal. So right, we're talking about right this minute now. If we're talking about what is good for African people, it's us having a spiritual focus that does not teach us that we are secondary to any other people, that that we are primary, that we are not periphery, that we can see God in our own image, that God hears the beat of the African drum, that God hears the tones of the African language just as much as God can hear, you know, whatever instrument exists in other cultures and whatever languages exist in other cultures. And what's important though to establish is the intentionality. Yeah, the ultimate goal, yeah, will play itself out once we get the right intentionality.
Yeah.
And
The
the
most
correct
beneficial culture. Go ahead.
intentionality is Black African focus. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yes,
Okay.
yeah,
You
that's
know
all.
what I wanted to ask is Shaka,
Yes, sir.
because you seem to be wait a minute. You seem to be a wise man in my the way I see you.
I give thanks. I give
But
thanks. I'm humbled by
let me
that.
ask you this question.
I'm wise. I'm
Yeah,
wise because I study Marcus Garvey. But go ahead.
I hope. So, why do you think Africans are okay with being the last in this race? Why do you think Africans feel comfort in that? Why do you think? Because every time somebody is giving a solution to us taking the lead in this race, or at least starting to run like at number 2 in this race, and not last, there's always other blacks that are fighting it. And I'm thinking, why are Africans comfortable with being losers? Because we're not comfortable in being losers at anything else in life, sports, in any other competitions. Blacks always want to win, but when it comes to life itself and way of living and life quality, Africans seems to be comfortable in being the loser, and seeing other
Good
people
point.
win.
Good point.
Yeah,
Good point.
So what's
that's
the psychology behind that? What would you say is the psychology?
that's the nature of oppression. In my humble opinion, and anybody can answer this, but put it this way: we were enslaved for 400 years, and that enslavement was all about getting African people to put the needs, the desires, the will
Yeah.
of the so-called enslaver,
Okay.
slave master, before our own.
Mm.
We were colonized, yeah, for over 100 years, yeah. And the colonization process was about us as a nation of people putting the needs of the colonizer nation before our own, yeah. And we were indoctrinated into the psychology. So our social systems, um, our 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 education system, our religious system were all geared towards us serving, yeah, the so-called colonizer. That's what it was. And so we've been indoctrinated into that, and we're finding it difficult to break out of that psychology. That's all it is.
To break
That
out.
is why
Okay.
Marcus Garvey was so powerful, because he came and said,
Yeah.
"Rise, mighty race, you can accomplish
Yeah.
what you will, not what the colonizer will,
Yeah.
but what you will."
Mm.
This is what I'm saying. Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Let us build a grand racial hierarchy whose only what's the word? Only limitations are God and Africa at home and abroad, or something like that. He said. Not he didn't say limitations, but I can't remember what word he used. Yeah. But it's about, so we break it by redirecting the focus. Yeah. Um, and
Yeah.
that's really what it's about. In fact, there's a quote from Marcus Garvey in Propaganda that I'd love. I'm gonna try and find it right now. Let's see if I can find it. You know what? I'm gonna hold on a second. One second. Let me find this Marcus Garvey quote on Propaganda. Yeah. To see if we can break this down. You know what I mean? Because yeah, it's all propaganda and what we've been taught. Day 25. So I'm going to read from Mosiah Affirmation, Day 25. These are the words of Marcus Mosiah. This quote is in the message to the people somewhere. I was looking for it. I couldn't find it immediately, but it's right here.
Before you read it, can somebody please shut the mic off, because
Yeah,
it's the sound is.
it's the mic. Someone's got something right there.
Yeah.
Hold on, sorry, yeah. Right. Oh, hold on a second. I think I found it. One second. Um, right. No, I haven't put the whole thing. All right, I'm gonna read two different things here. He said the white man is a great propagandist. He fully and completely realizes the value of propaganda. Therefore, you must organize your propaganda to undo the propaganda of other people if their propaganda affects your interests. The Bible is religious propaganda. The school book is literary propaganda. The novels and books you read are also literary propaganda, all calculated to bring about certain results beneficial to the propagandist. Yeah, another quote, he says, the white man has succeeded in subduing the world by forcing everybody to think his way, from his God to his fireside, from he has given to the world, from his Bible to his yellow newspaper sheets, a literature that establishes his rights and sovereignty to the disadvantage of the rest of the human race. If the white man's propaganda has made him master of the world, and all those who have come into contact with it and accepted it have become his slave. So really, the solution to the problem is not accepting the white man's propaganda.
Mm, that's
Right?
true.
Marcus Garvey, we are saying, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Today, this return to tuned in, yeah, it's the birthday of the prophet Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And I know by saying prophet, I'm offending the sensibilities of some of you. I am not apologizing for that because I do consider Marcus Garvey to be a prophet. That is my spiritual outlook. And so I don't apologize for that. Because Marcus Garvey is a prophet, and we affirm that unapologetically, yeah, without apology. We affirm the prophecy, the prophetic manifestation of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. You understand what I'm saying? So we give thanks to Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Um, right. I have not been paying attention to the chat, and I get the understanding that there is some some debate going on. I don't know what the debate is about, but I'm getting that vibe from the chat right about now. Anybody that's got a question, and anybody who's listening that wants to join the conversation, just let me know in the chat right now. Yeah, if you want to join the conversation, let me know in the chat right now. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Cause I'm soon gonna lock off the stream. Yeah, so speak now or forever hold your peace. But anybody who wants to join the chat right now, do let me know. Especially if you're a sister, a woman, an African woman, to be more specific. What's it called? Yeah, feel free to let us know, and I'll let you join the chat. But yeah,
Shaka,
yes, sir.
please, next time you go to Speaker's Corner, when you have that IC3 discussion, when you sit around in a circle,
Yeah.
please, I'm begging you. There's so much media there, so many people filming. I need you to promote this idea of us all coming together, the diasporans.
Yes,
I
sir.
need you to keep promoting this idea because it needs to get spread out. Because this is going to be our first step to Marcus Garvey's idea.
Yes, sir.
We need to get together and start doing things, man.
Yes, sir.
Promote
Yes,
it,
that's
promote
good.
it, promote it. I can't do it because I'm not around those areas, but every time there's a camera on you guys, just keep promoting this idea because people are gonna see what we've been seeing. They just need to see a success story, and I know we can do it.
Definitely.
We can be the forefathers of, not the forefathers, but the new generation forefathers or whatever it's called.
Yes.
Yeah, can I make a point?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is why the circle that we have at Speaker's Corner, I like to have
Yeah.
the black side and the non-white, the white side and the black side, or the white side and non-white side, because um,
Or the
when
black side and
you,
the non-black side.
yeah, that's right, because when you have other cultures sitting across from you, you tend to speak more clearly, and you have to arrange the words very carefully because you cannot assume that the other people share your understanding and your views. So it's that way it makes whatever you have to say more powerful
Yeah.
because you're showing the universality of what you're saying. Does that make sense?
Most definitely. It's and yeah, it's a good forum. It's a good forum, So it's been effective. So we give thanks for that. Eddie, 82. Are you asking the panel this question? Do we see the Bible as the white man's book when it's an African book? Is that or is that something that you're asking the people in the chat? So let's clarify. I don't want to ignore the question if you're asking for us to analyze it. Yeah, you know what I mean. But yeah, so yeah, kings and queens. For those of you who are joining late, we're just celebrating Marcus Garvey's birthday. Because it's Marcus Garvey's birthday today. You know what I'm saying? And worldwide celebrations are going right about now, kings and queens. This day has been celebrated all over the world, America, UK. I saw something in St. Lucia, Guan, Jamaica, something Guan. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, big things are going. This is the day that we honor and celebrate the life and legacy of um, our prophet. Um, and we call him a prophet because of the vision, the extreme vision that he was able to bring to the African world and the monumental success, that he achieved in terms of actualizing that vision, the extent to which he actualized the vision, yeah, is magnificent. And so we consider that prophetic in terms of the ability to lead a people, to inspire a people with vision, and to give a people the blueprint through which we can liberate ourselves. So it's not necessarily that Marcus Garvey fulfilled every aspect of the work. He laid the foundation for us to continue and build upon that work. And so that is the nature of that prophetic legacy right there. You know what I'm saying?
Can I ask something about Marcus Garvey and the Black Star Liner?
Yes, sir. What would you like to ask? And in fact, somebody here in the chat says, as Ask Getty Clan has said, I want to learn the story about Marcus Garvey boat story. So I wonder if he's talking about the Black Star Line as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think because I think you're more versed in it than Marcus Garvey than myself. You're the expert. So it appears to me. It appears to me that
Sorry,
wait a minute.
somebody needs to mute their YouTube. Yeah,
Somebody needs to
mute their YouTube. Yeah, if you got your YouTube playing and you're on the chat, please mute your YouTube. Yeah, give thanks. Go ahead, brother.
Okay, so it appears to me that the battle over the Black Star Liner was ended up as being the main battle, and that seemed to be where the greatest effort was made to take Marcus Garvey down, because I think it happened when it's something about when he's trying to purchase that ship.
Yes.
That they started to take him down. Is that correct?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes and no. It is true that the Black Star Line got the attention of the colonial powers and the American government more than anything else.
Right, that's right. Good.
However, it would be rivaled, I would say, by the Liberia program of the UNIACO, in which they were they had a $2 million African Redemption Fund, and in 1924 they sent an estimated value of $50,000 of agricultural and industrial equipment to Liberia. Yeah, not on the Black Star Line ship, but on a ship. And so basically, the connections that Marcus Garvey and the UNIACO were making with the continent was extremely problematic for these colonizers. But that would not be totally unrelated from the Black Star Line if we understand that the Black Star Line, the ultimate goal at that time was to get it to sell to Africa and transport people, goods, services, and resources to the continent as well.
Yes. Okay. So was the problem with the Black Star Liner? Remind me if I'm wrong. That Marcus Garvey borrowed, was it a certain amount of money from some Jewish people? Is that correct? To fund the boat, the Black Star Liner, to fund the boat, he borrowed some money from some Jewish people, and then they accused him of not paying back the money or something. Could you refresh me?
It wasn't. So as I need to refresh myself on the details of the story myself, but it wasn't necessarily that he borrowed the money from them. It was more that it was more in the sense of how he paid for the ship, if that makes sense. So he struck a deal with the people that he bought the ship from, yeah, whereby he assumed ownership of the ship before it was fully paid for. So he got it on credit, so to speak.
Ah.
Right?
So why should that be a problem then?
Well, it wasn't a problem, except for the fact that the American government was trying to find a way to deport him, yeah. And so what they eventually charged him with was mail fraud. That's the only thing that they could get him on, and even that,
mail fraud.
Yeah, and even that was a trumped up charge. So mail fraud is basically eliciting money through the mail under false pretense. Yeah, just what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, but even that is a trumped up charge. Like you know what I'm saying? You know, a thorough study of the court case and the documents will prove that there's no evidence for this. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
mail fraud would be something like if black African people were to start a kind of partner or banking union, um, the leaders of the African financial union or bank or financial union, they could be accused in the same way as Marcus Garvey was of trying to elicit money. Something
Well,
would
that's an interesting
would that be
question.
similar?
Yes and no. That's an interesting question. The reality is that first and foremost, one of the one of the things about a cooperative, yeah, is that the law, a cooperative has the wherewithal under the law of the land to define its own laws, yeah, and its ways of operating. Yeah, that's one thing.
Okay.
But the other thing though is that in effect, when you are living under um, a an oppressive colonial government, law is a fickle thing. They will create laws to suppress and oppress you. You know what I'm saying? So technically speaking,
Okay.
you're correct. Like if we're living under this law, then yeah, they can do whatever they want in order to try and thwart what we are doing. But that is the reason why Marcus Garvey said we should never be satisfied to always live under the government of other people. We should visualize for ourselves our own governments, our own leaders, our own who look like us. You know what I'm saying? So all of these things are stages of development towards the ultimate goal, which is self-governance, complete self-determination, yeah, sovereignty and autonomy. Big up, I am King Sosa. Big up, I am King Sosa. You'll be glad to know we're not
Oh,
discussing video yesterday, bro, my brother. It's Marcus
oh,
Garvey's birthday. You know what I'm saying? But yeah,
okay. So Marcus Garvey. Um, so what we can learn from that model is, I think you've made it quite clear. There seem to be two paths. I don't know which path we should go on, or if we should try and do both paths at the same time.
mm,
Path one
One.
is that we try and do what Marcus Garvey did, and that is acquire ships and move materials as best we can. Path two, as you clarified, is that the legal structure, they'll change laws to try and thwart whatever we're doing.
mhm.
So that's more like fighting the system. So these are two separate like military
Yeah.
wings, really.
But Marcus Garvey did both, however. But I would say that the essential component was institution building. So it wasn't just about buying ships. It was about asking the questions. What do we need as a people? What does the race need? Yeah, and then going about
Okay.
this of building what the race needs. Now, but under that, because for example, Africa was colonized at the time, then we have to wage various forms of warfare, be it propaganda or military, in order to liberate our continent physically from those who are colonizing it. Yeah, but even in doing that, that is also based upon the institutions that we build and the services that we are able to provide for and with each other. So those two things are not separate from each other; they go hand in hand. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't challenge the system or you build a school. You build a school and challenge the system, and you educate the students in the school with the wherewithal, the knowledge, the information they need to learn how to challenge the system in a productive fashion.
Yes. Yes. Good. 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 So basically, it's like um, what the Jews have in the Bible in a chapter in book of Nehemiah, that they were trying to build a temple, and they had a sword in one hand and I think the shovel in the other hand, and they were building at the same time with everybody was working,
That's a beautiful
but
analogy. That's a beautiful
yeah,
analogy.
yeah, yeah, that's the book of Nehemiah in the Bible. If you read it, it talks about they were trying to build.
Any of my Hebrews, can you confirm where we can find this in the Helios Biblos, please?
Yeah, in the book, it's a book of Nehemiah. So
Yeah,
just got Nehemiah.
yeah.
Yeah, and
my Hebrews, confirm that.
and
If you got the story correct. Hebrews, confirm that. If you got the story correct. But go ahead, bro. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the book of Nehemiah.
Shaka, before you continue, I just wanted to say I have to go.
Yeah, no problem.
I have to go, but
thank you for
I give
joining
thanks
the chat,
for this amazing build, man.
Thank you for that.
No worries. Is this live gonna be saved?
Yeah. I don't take.
Are you gonna save it on YouTube?
Yeah, I don't take that, man.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I don't take that, man. So,
yeah.
All right.
Keep fighting, brothers, man. I hope we can see each other one time.
Most definitely, bro. You know what? One of the things I want to tap into is what you said, bro. I'm passionate about the fact that Africans in Europe are linked up. So yeah. Like send me like in the private chat. In the private chat.
Okay.
We need to maintain.
No worries.
Yep. So let me read this quote from Marcus Garvey for you. IC3, yeah. You there, bro? IC3, bro.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And I want to know about Nehemiah. I want any of my Hebrews here because I know you might know the Bible. Upside down and inside out. So let me know if brother IC3 get the analogy correct as a Nehemiah and the people with the shovel with one hand and the sword in the next. You know what I mean? Whether would that apply in this instance? Yeah, right. The ideal of nationhood. This is affirmation day 21. Yeah, no race is free until it has a nation of its own system of government, and its own order of society. Never give up this idea. Never be satisfied to always live under the government of other people, because you will always be at their mercy. Visualize for yourself and your children and generations unborn your own kings, emperors, presidents, your own governments, officials, and administrators who look like you. We are determined to solve our own problems by redeeming our motherland, Africa, from the hands of alienating exploiters, and found there a government, a nation of our own, strong enough to lend protection to the members of our race scattered all over the world, and to compel the respect of the nations and races of the earth. So that's the ultimate goal, yeah? Now, in other works of Marcus Garvey, and for example, in the course of African philosophy, he teaches on how to relate to the government that you're under at any particular time. That you should obey the laws. You don't break the laws unless and until they are oppressive to you. You respect the laws of the land, yeah? But in respect to the laws of the land, we are working to develop our own nations with our own laws. Yeah, the UNIA built institutions to feed, clothe, and shelter African people. But at the international convention, which featured over 25,000 black men and women and children from around the world in 1920, they developed the Declaration of Rights of the African people of the world, in which they are charting all of the different injustices that we have faced, yeah, from invasion, slavery, and colonization, and then declaring a certain set of rights that we are demanding that the governments of the world respect in relation to African people wherever we are on the planet Earth. Yeah. So both of these things were done. Yeah. Whereas you know, you would find statements of Marcus Garvey talking about driving every paleface out of Africa. He also the UNIA also, as a result of the upheavals of World War One, petitioned the League of Nations. Yeah, because when Germany lost all of its so-called colonial properties, yeah, the UNIA petitioned the League of Nations to hand over those nations to the African people of the world, because the UNIA had elected a government in exile in 1920. Yeah, so you find both of these strategies working hand in hand. There is outright warfare, and then there's also diplomacy.
Good, very good. Can I make a point there?
Go ahead.
Or ask a question? Yeah.
I'm gonna.
You mentioned,
yeah. So, but yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned the League of Nations.
Yes.
What do you think of this idea? Do you think it's possible that a black person could start up a kind of League of Nations? In other words, Africa could organize for all the other nations to come to Africa and set the code or the rules. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah.
So you have an alternative. You'd have a European League of Nations, and then you'd have an African League of Nations. And if the African one was more attractive, all the nations would league up with Africa. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely, definitely, and I think that's entirely possible. The prerequisite to that though is a free and liberated Africa. That's the only way that happens. Yeah. So
Are you
once,
sure?
yes,
That might be the way that liberates Africa itself.
no, bro, there's only an African League of Nations. Yeah. Once there is an African nation, you see what I'm saying? Like once the Africans are relating as a nation of people.
Yeah, but it could be. I want you to consider the other side. I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying.
Yes.
Sort out your home first,
Yes.
basically. Sort out Africa first.
Yes.
Then you'll be in a position
Yes.
to create a League of Nations and invite all nations
Yes.
to come under the African code. That's your angle,
That's
correct?
the only way it happens. Yeah. I don't see any other way of that taking place.
Okay, but I'm saying that I believe there's an alternative, and that is by setting up a code that in itself creates value in Africa. So, for example, if you're going to have a dinner party, you set the table out and you select the food. And if people like the way you run your party, then they come based on they might even not even see the food. They might just hear about the menu or the intent of or the tone or the music that's going to be at that party. They're not there yet. But
Yeah.
if they all turn up, catch what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying that there's an alternative view. Just the way you arrange the party and the menu can make you and make your home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, bro. My only point is that codes and laws are only made manifest in the relationships between people. So there is no code that is going to compel people to respect us outside of us manifesting that code as a people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there is no. So we don't we,
I
we don't have a table, yeah, to invite people to until we have decided that we're going to organize and create and build that table. Until that table is built, there is nothing to invite anybody to. Yeah. So
okay.
we could,
I
but
disagree.
the equivalent is
Because
like us getting together and deciding that a table needs to be built and deciding what the table must look like, and we may even draw up the plans, yeah, to make the table.
yes,
Right?
yes,
And that's all good. So we've got the codes, we've got the methodology, we've got the aesthetics, we know what we want the table to look like. Until we
yes.
put the table, not a Naguan. There is no menu to place to put the table on. Yeah, even if we cook the food, until we build the table, there is nothing to present. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? These culinary delights, yeah, to the world.
Yes, I understand. Good. But I'm saying the world does not work that way. See, these white supremacists goes back to what was being said earlier. They work on propaganda so when they're looking for investors, they don't have anything. All they have is a portfolio and words and say, look, this is our project. This is what we intend. These are going to be the rules. Would you like to invest in this? That's how business works.
Yeah,
That's
but,
how
but again,
money
bro,
goes.
business is a social relationship. So a business does not exist outside of and beyond people. That's the only point I'm making. Yeah. So
Okay, I
you can
understand.
have
I
a
understand. But
you can have a
that's
good
social
business
relation.
plan. Yeah, but
Sorry?
you can have a good business plan, but until a group of people get together and actualize the business, then there's no business. You know what I'm
I
saying?
understand.
No business
I
like what?
understand. But let's focus on what you said. It's about people and social. So put business comes secondary. If you have an idea and a concept, then people, um, if they see that there's something in it for them from the concept, from the idea, there's nothing physical yet. If they see that there's going to be something in it for them and it's clearly laid out in the rules,
Yeah,
then the investment comes,
I'm gonna agree
and
that
then you
there
benefit.
are some people that get involved based upon the principles, and they dedicate themselves based upon the principles to manifest something. That happens.
Yeah.
There are other people that, based upon the success of the principles in actualization, that's what inspires them to get involved. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We're gonna get both. We're gonna get both sides of this spectrum. Yeah, there are gonna be some people that, when they hear, for example, a live chat like this, they're gonna be inspired to go and study more about Marcus Garvey, and then there are
Yes.
others who are gonna be inspired to get involved in a Garveyite organization, an organization that is trying to manifest exactly
Yeah.
the vision of Marcus Garvey and the UNIA ACO. You know what I'm saying? Then there are
Yeah.
others
Yeah.
who they're not gonna get involved until they see another Black Star Line. Yeah.
That's right. That's
They
right.
look,
Yeah. That's right.
rotted. Look on this Black Star Line. I go and go, and they're gonna get involved based upon that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what what I'm saying. So we have to we have to make do
That's right.
you know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
But big up IC3, yeah. Thank you for joining the conversation, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We're gonna wrap
Yeah.
up. We're gonna wrap up now.
All right. Have a good night.
Give thanks. You too. Yeah.
All
So
right. Bye.
what's it called? I'm gonna just wrap up, yeah, with a couple quotations, yeah, from the man himself, Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and hopefully leave the conversation on a note of unity and overstanding at the very least, yeah. The first quote I'm gonna give is once again taken from the School of African Philosophy, and it's about God, yeah. And this is Marcus Garvey defining God, the Creator. He says, "There is a God, and we believe in Him. He is not a person nor a physical being. He is spirit, and He is universal intelligence. Never deny there is a God. God, being universal intelligence, created the universe out of that intelligence. It is the intelligence that creates. Man is a part of creation. So, universal intelligence and man was created in the image and likeness of God. Only by his intelligence. It is the intelligence of man that is like God. But man's intelligence is only a unitary particle of God's universal intelligence. Yeah. And I'm always inspired by much of Marcus Mosiah Garvey's quotes on the creator and spiritual matters, because that particular quote right there, as he defines the creator as universal intelligence, and man and woman as a unitary particle of that universal intelligence. And so when he says that it is the intelligence of man that is like God, he goes on to talk about how God, through his intelligence, her intelligence, created the world. And so our essential purpose as human beings is to create, to manifest the godlike essence within us, to use our intelligence to manifest and to create. And one of the ways that we put our intelligence to good use is to seek knowledge. Yeah, and I shared this particular quote on Facebook, and it seemed to get an excellent reception from those who were listening and viewing and reading. And so I want to share it again because it's a beautiful words of Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Yeah. And this is Affirmation Day 11, the advantage of complete knowledge. He says, "It is the duty of man and woman to make their knowledge so complete in life as to make it impossible for any other to take advantage of them. That is why you find men and women always educating themselves inside and outside the classroom, finding out everything that is new. You need to know what is new so that nobody will have you at a disadvantage. The person who knows walks the earth a colossal success. But the person who doesn't know walks around and begs. That person is ignorant of everything, and yet God never made a fool. It is the duty of everyone to learn all of nature's ways. And finally, because the goal of Garveyism, the goal of the mission and the vision of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was African nationhood. Yeah? And so I'm going to finish um, on these two quotes. Firstly, power is the only argument that satisfies man. Except the individual, the nation, the race has power that is exclusive. That individual, nation, or race will be bound by the will of others who possess this great qualification. The African must get power, power of every kind, power in education, power in science, power in industry, power in politics, power in higher government. That kind of power that will stand out so that other races and nations will see, if not feel. And finally, the flag is the emblem that signifies the existence of that nation. Have your flag. It is red, black, and green. Be proud of it, for it is the emblem of your race. When other nations exhibit their flags, exhibit yours. Make songs about your nation and sing them. Write poetry about your nation and recite it. Glorify your nation in music and in song. Don't sing the songs of other races. Don't recite the poems of other races. See only yourself in everything. Make your nation the highest expression of human idealism and then live up to it. Such is the wisdom of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Hail to the power of the word. I want to thank everybody that joined me for this particular live chat, all those who joined the chat itself, all those who commented in the comment section, the chat, sorry. Feel free to use the comment section after the chat concludes, the stream concludes. All the silent listeners from Alboat, Yard and Farin, I want to say thank you to all of you. This is the birthday of the most eminent prophet and king, His Excellency Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and we continue to rededicate ourselves to the vision and the mission of the prophet, knowing with a surety that Africa and all African people will be free. Africa for the Africans at home and abroad. Rise, you mighty race. You can accomplish whatever you will. Garvey lives. Mosiah lives. Tenamwari.
Have a good night.
Give time.